One curious students crowded around to watch a messy public couple fight, Chuchu Chingli. The most gorgeous redhead in school was declaring a cold, very public breakup. She was rich and talented, making their relationship seem completely ridiculous now. Because Fang Yi was dead broke and completely talentless, the girl waited for crowds before dropping her final blow. She fully expected Fang Yi to start begging to save their relationship in front of everyone, but things completely flipped. Fang Yi shrugged and just said fine. The girl froze in absolute shock. This had to be a cheap trick, she shrieked, that playing hard to get would get him nowhere. Because pretending not to care would never make her change her mind. Right then, Fang Yi just stared, simply saying he was tired. Talk about a reality check. The campus princess was utterly humiliated, leaving everyone stunned, completely unfazed. Fang Yi walked away to farm his aura points, but neither Chuchu Chingli nor anyone else realizes is that Fang Yi is a completely different person now. He is the sole person who knows the current rules of society will soon mean absolutely nothing. Soon the world will descend into chaos, and Chuchu Chingli is just some irrelevant stranger from a past life to him. It all started yesterday when the main character woke up, and bizarre spatial cracks showed him a horrifying future of colossal, world-ending disasters. A system prompt warned that a spiritual energy revival was underway. Hitting full activation in 361 days, Fang Yi was deeply bewildered by this grim, apocalyptic data. Ghostly figures appeared before him, and the system announced that all societal rules would be completely rewritten. The age of Immortal cultivators was arriving, where raw strength would become the ultimate currency. Our protagonist, consumed by intense curiosity, reached out and asked who these entities were. In response, a blinding, otherworldly glow began to wash over him. A system window flickered to life, claiming it originated from the deep edges of the universe. Running advanced algorithms bound to ancient cosmic secrets, its purpose was to automatically generate cultivation methods based on spiritual materials. The host touched, listing his current progress as 0. Fang Yi reached out, his fingers sliding right through the holographic screen. Suddenly, a colossal beast emerged, unleashing a terrifying roar. Fang Yi froze in sheer horror at what was hanging from its jaws, revealing a mangled corpse. The system warned this would soon be his own fate, along with billions of other ordinary souls on Blue Star. Fang Yi swallowed hard, unable to shake off the creeping terror, clutching his chest. His heart raced with anxiety. Fang Yi looked back, remembering his grueling past life. He had been a completely helpless weakling, dragged along by fate, scraping by just to survive, desperately hoping to outlast the global apocalypse. But he only watched his empire collapse and humanity suffer. When the end came, those savage mutant beasts tore him apart. He remembered dying in absolute despair, consumed by burning rage and an unquenchable thirst for vengeance. Now his eyes flashed with absolute resolve. Perhaps this was why the system sent him back, landing him an entire year before the great Manhwa awakening. He was absolutely certain to use every bit of his memories to evolve beyond limits. Fang Yi reached out and brushed the floating system shards, determined to weaponize every supernatural anomaly born from this new world. Instantly, the system began running a brand new assessment. Fang Yi's eyes burned like twin suns as the system declared that the system binding was a success, unlocking a brand new path. Now everything around him could serve as raw material. His clear mission was to collect God-tier skills, become the ultimate cultivator, and save the world. Meanwhile, in the city, citizens were suddenly warned that humanity faced an unprecedented, massive crisis. The answers could not be found in the past. Everyone had to adapt using their own strength. Everyone was completely shocked, except Fang Yi. Turning on his phone, he saw countless warning notifications. He knew the government would neither confirm nor deny these strange phenomena. They simply told citizens to prepare. The heavy memories of his past life weighed on him. He knew the quiet, direct approach by the Zaya nation kept the public incredibly calm and trusting their leaders. Then he remembered the system said he could use anything, meaning he had to head straight toward the active anomalies. Just then, a news alert on his phone caught his attention. The UV levels at Shenzhen University had reached a record high for the century, triggering a major heat alert. Was issued, telling new students to take extreme safety precautions and use sunscreen. Fang Yi looked at the cloudy sky, checked his own UV meter, and saw it was at 0. He was totally baffled, unable to understand how. The weather was so different when campus was only a 15-minute drive away. Photos of a blazing, intense sun over campus flooded online. Students were told that freshman registration would still go on, but everyone had to avoid the north gate because of the extreme UV index. Other entrances remained open, and Fang Yi smiled. He knew that when weird anomalies first occur, for the first time, most people just assume it is some stupid publicity stunt. Only he knew the truth, smiling as his very first opportunity arrived. Fang Yi quickly changed his clothes and headed straight to the university. Everyone was carrying heavy umbrellas in blistering heat so intense, dry leaves fell from the trees. Fang Yi went straight to the deserted north gate, avoiding the crowds completely. He knew something was definitely wrong there. Suddenly, hundreds of glowing, hot ashes began falling from the sky as students panicked, fleeing to avoid being burned. Fang Yi kept his gaze locked on them, deciding to touch them. As his finger made contact, a blinding light flared. The system suddenly detected an intense surge in the Yang attribute, immediately unlocking his data model. The scorching energy rushed straight into Fang Yi, causing him absolutely agonizing pain. Blinding, golden light exploded directly from his body. Nearby onlookers shielded their eyes, terrified of going blind. Nobody understood what was happening, thinking they were hallucinating. As the sheer power began burning his clothes, Fang Yi clutched his head, going crazy, praying for the system to finish its compilation. He felt like he was about to die, but compilation completed and Fang Yi acquired an overpowered Yang technique, the golden sun breathing technique. Later, it was registration day for new students at Shangxiang University. His arrogant ex-girlfriend arrived at the registration booths. Immediately, some guy offered to carry her suitcase. Soon, a bunch of guys swarmed her for attention. But she cold-shouldered everyone, snapping that she did not need help. Looking at a nearby couple, she remembered she was single. Suddenly, Chingli almost panicked when a massive explosion suddenly occurred. The loudspeaker. Everyone was told to avoid the north gate, but one curious girl went. She had to investigate. Suddenly, a massive golden explosion lit up everything. A powerful, imposing figure emerged from the smoke, taking a slow, deep breath. His eyes gleamed with an intense golden light. Then, a screen popped up. He just unlocked a brand new technique and pocketed 50 system points. Fang Yi stared at the points, no rush to spend them right now. But they would surely be useful later. That night, under an eerie moon, he practiced his brand new technique. By morning, sunlight flooded the entire campus. A strange energy coursed through the air. Students ran frantically toward the gate. The sky turned dark and cold, just for a split second. A massive crowd had already gathered. The dean was absolutely furious. Why did they ignore the warning? Meanwhile, a small group pushed through. The crowd parted. Right in the center stood a mysterious, hooded figure. She looked incredibly serious, ordering the dean to completely seal off the gate. Suddenly, the system chimed. Fang Yi had officially cleared a polluted zone. The government already knew. Were there other people out there with powers? A massive warning restricted the area. Things were getting incredibly serious. Rooftop onlookers spotted uniformed men. Could they be the army? The massive commotion was drawing way too much attention. His eyes glowed crimson. It was time to leave right now. He leaped off the building. Below, the hooded woman examined the ground. The concrete was cracked by pure energy. She knelt down, touching it. She wanted to feel the lingering aura. She picked up a fragment. After inspecting the damage, the hooded woman made a shocking deduction. A single person had unleashed this devastation, absolute insanity. Guards evacuated the students. Watching from afar, Fang Yi's ex-girlfriend stood frozen. She was utterly terrified to learn one person caused all this ruin. Right then her boyfriend spotted a shadow leap. Talk about crazy timing. For a second he thought of Fang Yi, but quickly dismissed it. A loser with those grades would never get into this school. Meanwhile, night was falling at Fang Yi's house. Lying in bed, he groaned. His skin still burned even after a cold shower. No sleep tonight. Worse, he worried that today's massive spectacle had drawn too much attention. Grabbing his phone, a viral post about a cultivation association caught his eye. Previously, everyone assumed it was just a stupid internet joke. But recalling the hooded figures at school, he realized they were real. They had to be official members. Intrigued, he clicked the article open. It detailed the different ranks, from minor ghosts to total transcendence. In the comments, people laughed, but Fang Yi sat up in bed, wondering if this post was a sign of the actual truth. He never knew about any of this in his previous life. Shocking. Regardless of the association, he needed to practice his new technique. Closing his eyes, he focused his breathing. Sweat began to bead up. Golden energy surged, flowing wildly and wrapping around his entire body. He slowly floated upward, completely bathed in a brilliant, blinding light. This first step strengthened his body against the raw power of heaven. With precise focus, he molded the wild energy into a fine axe. His eyes flared. Fang Yi smiled, feeling absolute power surging. The system dinged. Dookie level reached, rewarding him with 50 points. Staring at the screen, he realized a new path had opened. He could actually use these points to infuse compiled data straight into any object. Imbuing everyday items with this crazy energy absolutely fascinated him. Glancing at the table, Fang Yi reached toward a simple mug. A golden glow erupted. The system asked to infuse Yang attribute points. He realized this was basic enchanting, granting a mundane object special attributes. Imagine doing this to a blade, it would become deadlier. Determined to gear up for the coming storm, he needed a weapon. So Fang Yi reached up and grabbed a small test sword from his display shelf. If it worked, he would buy a real weapon before the monsters struck. Suddenly, a bizarre scratching sound echoed from right outside his window. Deep into the night, some heavy, unsettling presence was lurking nearby. And right there, a beast with massive claws stalked his apartment. It bared sharp teeth, resembling a giant, mutated demonic rabbit. Ready to strike, inside, Fang Yi remained completely oblivious to it. Lying in his bed, he just felt restless from his cultivation. His eyes opened. What on earth was making that scratching noise? It sounded like a mouse, but not from inside the pipes. Maybe a neighbor's pet had gotten loose. After all, his hearing was sharper. With his enhanced senses, picking up stray sounds was pretty normal. Now check this out. As he focused on the noise, a cold chill hit him. Fang Yi crept over and slid his apartment door open and froze. Staring back at him in the pitch-black hallway was a red-eyed monster. Pure shock registered. He instantly recognized this exact beast from his past. While his mind raced, a military drone buzzed over the sleeping city. Someone else was clearly tracking the threat. High above, a girl watched. She grumbled, annoyed at the delay in capturing this stupid rabbit. Sucking on a lollipop, she seemed completely confident in her hunting skills. Demanding instant updates, she snapped a quick order to her team. Then she leaped off the skyscraper, diving straight into the dark. Plummeting downward, she navigated the massive concrete jungle with absolute ease. A sudden surge of the beast's power hit her senses. Her eyes flashed. There it was, right in her sights. Landing hard on a rooftop, the huntress didn't miss a beat. Sprinting straight down a vertical wall, she ignored gravity altogether. Her mission orders were crystal clear: capture this target at any cost. The mutated rabbit had consumed a highly sought, mystical evolutionary fruit. It could evolve at any moment. Meanwhile, an office worker looked out. A tired office worker caught a dark blur flashing past. His angry boss instantly yelled at him to get back to work. High above on the 65th floor, she slipped away like a shadow. Inside his room, Funya faced the screaming beast. He stood ready. With glowing golden eyes, he felt the massive change. He could fight back. Claws flashed. Funya dodged the deadly strike with unbelievable speed. Everything moved in slow motion. His new reflexes felt absolutely incredible. Gathering hot solar energy, he wondered why this mutant appeared so soon. Memories of his past life flooded back as he faced the monster. It was not fully evolved, yet every clash made it stronger. Time was running out. Funya prepared for a sudden, decisive strike. If he failed, everyone in this building would surely die tonight. Channeling his energy, Funya grabbed the beast with immense strength. Gripping it firmly, his golden eyes gleamed. He spun the monster around. Its tail was the weak point. Seizing the opening, he grabbed it. Summoning all his strength, he hurled the heavy monster right at the window. Glass shattered everywhere. His fist began glowing with a bright golden light. Fang Yi unleashed a blazing beam of energy, hitting the creature midair. It was engulfed by the golden light, clawing at the beam desperately. The monster wanted to steal his yang power, but Fang Yi quickly reacted. The sun's energy was far too hot. The rabbit beast was self-destructing. Instantly, a massive golden explosion engulfed the overloaded creature. Next door, a sleeping couple woke up to a sudden, loud crash. The husband thought it was thunder and checked the window but saw nothing. Fang Yi landed back on the floor, surrounded by fading golden sparks. He realized the beast was like a hungry ghost drawn to his light. The beast's severed eye fell to the floor, releasing a dark mist. Staring silently, Fang Yi looked down at the dark, smoking remains. He stomped on the eye, easily crushing it. The battle was over. These creatures of the night desperately craved his pure, hot yang energy. Normally, a mutant like this would have slaughtered everyone in the building. Fang Yi knew he had to master stronger techniques for future dangers. Peace was short-lived, as a mysterious girl leaped through the night. Reaching the ruined apartment, her eyes snapped open in absolute shock. She stood frozen, wondering if another hunter had already slain her target. Kneeling down, she prepared to retrieve the creature's dark night attribute. But as she touched the ashes, a lingering golden spark surprised her. An incredibly intense, burning heat immediately resonated deep inside her body. This matched the energy from the university gate. It was no coincidence. Looking serious and determined, she immediately activated her tactical communicator. She reported to base that a highly powerful outsider had defeated the target. The voice on her communicator asked if this was the same person from the gate. The commander confirmed they lacked information and suggested they recruit him. The silver-haired girl agreed, carefully sealing the tiny golden flame inside. A small container. Suddenly, her chief gave her a brand new order. Abandon all other missions and focus entirely on locating this strong outsider. Unwrapping her sweet lollipop, she accepted, but declared she had one condition. She accepts the new order, but declares she has some prior business. Needing some milk tea to relax, she listens to a voice question the mysterious guy's raw power. The young woman agrees that the president was actually right. She absolutely has to meet this master. Far away, Fang Yi's day starts with the sunrise. He stretches out, ready to train, waking up early. Always boosts his strength. He begins his session, absorbing golden morning energy with a special breathing technique. As the warmth fills him, his eyes burn with golden light. He taps into the phantom axe technique, feeling it finally surface. A sudden burst of power surprises him. He's getting stronger. Energy surges through his veins as he focuses on keeping it stable. Clenching his fist, he feels the sheer vibration. Fang Yi summons his axe. It feels incredibly light now. Gripping the handle firmly, he prepares to finally test his massive upgrade. Raising the golden weapon high, he readies a devastating strike. He has reached the 2-star Phantom Axe level. His eyes burn with brilliant gold flames, showing his newly awakened power. Fang Yi's body now, far tougher and more resilient, absorbed the residual magic from that last upgrade. But he decides to play it safe and level up slowly from here on out. This crazy growth is attracting way too much attention, so he needs a private training spot. Meanwhile, over at the association, an agent senses a weird shift in solar energy. Could it be the new guy again? Meanwhile, Fang Yi finds a quiet riverbank to work. His system screen pops up, and he confirms adding a special attribute to his blade. He remembers trying this with a different weapon that shattered from the pressure. This time, the steel connects seamlessly with his energy, confirming the system encoding. Grinning, Fang Yi gets ready to test his weapon. What happens next is absolute insanity. The sword unleashes an enormous golden beam straight into the sky. Fang Yi lands, his blade ablaze as power pulses. The shockwave almost starts a massive forest fire, proving his growth. But that massive smoke cloud will definitely draw crowds. He flees. A girl runs toward the scene, crying that she lost her chance by stepping away. For just a second, she freezes, seeing the river literally boiling. An agent flies over the wreckage, completely stunned by the sheer destruction. She already expects a major scolding since everything has been chaotic since he arrived. Suddenly, a golden flash in the distance catches her eye, and she is absolutely speechless. This makes no sense. His level just leaped from 1 to 2 stars. He even crafted a spirit weapon. The association only has 2 of those. And the crafting method is a complete secret. Suspicious, she wonders how he pulled this off alone. Pushing her doubts aside, she gets to work cleaning up his massive mess. Meanwhile, Fang Yi thinks things over. His new blade has the Yang attribute, but he wants more. With system encoding, he plans to stack even more elements onto it. Suddenly, his phone buzzes. It is a message from an anonymous sender. Fang Yi completely forgot about basic privacy. A stranger invites him to a pioneer team. To his shock, the official members are all at least Ghost Axe rank. The recruiter mentions a fresh pollution zone, inviting him for a raid. Fang Yi asks for the coordinates. They send over data on the Shadow River lava dragon. Since the area is lava-based, matching his Yang element perfectly, he accepts the invite. Far away in the Binmu district, a group was waiting for Old Li's friend. One member pointed out that thanks to her detailed map, getting here was a breeze. The blonde thanked everyone for coming, emphasizing that teamwork was absolutely critical. Representing the association, she was disappointed by their weakness. Many had no clue the Cultivation Association was actually a government branch. Securing her spot was tough, requiring some heavy family favors. That debt made her absolutely hate failing. Suddenly, an explorer spotted the newcomer. He called out Fang Yi's name. The young warrior entered, sword in hand, introducing himself. The blonde manager felt startled by his power, but his aura felt surprisingly warm instead of terrifying. With everyone gathered, the leader gave the signal to head inside the cave. Fang Yi moved forward, asking Xiaoya to keep the light steady. Heading deeper, one of the explorers warned Fang Yi about falling rocks. Strangely, the cave was not that hot, and Fang Yi appreciated their acceptance. It was nice to feel some real camaraderie during these dangerous times. As Fang Yi pressed forward, the ground beneath him started shifting colors. A clear sign of danger. Suddenly, they reached a massive chamber. Staring in awe at the bubbling lava river, Fang Yi stepped forward. He walked toward the danger, prompting Xiaoya to scream a desperate warning. To everyone's shock, Fang Yi plunged his sword straight into the lava. The explorers panicked, screaming for help as a massive explosion erupted. The blast threw them backward, and Fang Yi's system detected an anomaly. As his blade sank into the lava, the system analyzed the anomaly. It unlocked a new power, the incredibly hot internal flame attribute. This power boasted explosive properties, fueling his newly acquired flame sword technique. He pulled out his blade, which was now completely wrapped in roaring fire. With the initial shockwaves fading, Fang Yi held his burning sword, his eyes glowing. Both his eyes and blade glowed with fiery power, perfect for his Tang sword. Down below, the stunned explorers watched him in absolute awe, completely speechless. Standing unharmed inside the fiery vortex, Fang Yi felt his sword absorbing the heat. Then Fang Yi used his script points to permanently bind this fire attribute. His weapon now burned with a brilliant, highly explosive crimson energy. Once the flames cleared, his teammates assumed Fang Yi had had an accident. He recovered quickly, leaving the entire group completely thrilled. They quickly noticed that the cavern's spiritual energy had finally stabilized. One cheered for the smooth energy, while another prepared to begin cultivating. He called out Zioya's name in pure excitement, eager to start training. The blonde manager smiled, telling them to train while she kept guard. They thanked her, but the moment was interrupted as Zioya detected nearby movement. She warned of arriving pioneers. Right then, 3 muscular men entered. They were led by a fierce-looking man with an eye patch and glowing red eyes. He arrogantly claimed this resource-rich land. Zioya immediately started to worry. These newcomers were 1-star Ghost Axe, and her team stood no chance. Despite the danger, Zioya tried to negotiate politely to keep them calm. She reminded them they arrived first, even offering an alliance, but her efforts failed. Pure disdain, the eye-patched leader scoffs at her ridiculously low level. He orders them to leave, or they will face painful consequences. Zioya hardens. She silently reflects on the harsh reality of this era. But as a proud Z-Nation Association member, she cannot back down. She will not allow this. The intense confrontation instantly hits a breaking point. Just then, Fang Yi steps in, standing right between Zioya and the thug. His sword blazes. He calmly asks the giant if he has nothing better to do. Other than bullying a girl, the scarred leader stands completely speechless. No hesitation, Fang Yi instantly unleashes a single, absolutely devastating blow. A massive fiery explosion erupts, sending all 3 hostile attackers flying. Total shock, his own companions freeze, completely halting in their tracks. Fang Yi knows only overwhelming force works on those who respect strength. He forcefully slams his blazing blade straight into the ground, directly in front of them. Shrouded in a massive golden aura, Fang Yi commands them to back off. Terrified by this monstrous display of power, the leader quickly orders a retreat. They vanish. Fang Yi calmly watches them run as his team approaches. Still completely awestruck, they watch Fang Yi casually laugh it off. He says it is time to go, leaving Zioya to wonder about his power. He clearly held back. She realizes he must be a top-tier pioneer. This is big. She immediately decides to report this to her organization. Inside the busy spiritual energy Cultivation Association, an employee takes the call. Hearing Zioya's report, she gasps at another high-attribute pioneer discovery. Suddenly, she freezes. She realizes she has spoken far too much. An imposing man stands right behind her, forcing her to hang up. Uncomfortable yet smiling, she cheerfully brings the news to her superior. She asks her gray-haired senior if they are just incredibly lucky. He somberly corrects her. Luck has absolutely nothing to do with this. Every high-attribute cultivator is destined to become a massive center of power. That immense responsibility stresses him deeply. Meanwhile, under the sun, Fang Yi returns to the city, attempting to disguise himself as a simple cosplayer. But his powerful aura and authentic sword attract constant curious stares. He suddenly stops, reading on his phone that the cave incident is viral. He scolds himself, unleashing his inner flame was far too reckless. It was highly visible, but he knows his companions would never betray him. Instead, he focuses on his breakthrough, using the massive absorbed yang energy. This advancement is urgent. He needs a quiet, isolated place to break through. He heads straight for a remote mountain. 5 minutes later, Su Qingying, a silver-haired garden restoration specialist, suddenly senses an incredibly powerful presence. She spots a massive explosion of light, resembling a miniature sun. Recognizing the clear signs of a cultivator reaching the 3-star ghost axe. This monstrous power astounds her. She has never seen anything like it. Driven by duty and a strange sense of recognition, she runs. She races toward the disturbance, vowing to catch the mysterious cultivator. High on the mountain, Fang Yi sits fully focused on his breakthrough. Waves of golden energy swirl around him, forming a glowing sun-like orb. Hovering right over his head while he meditates midair, a divine star forms. Raw golden power crackles beneath his skin, lighting up the entire area. His eyes glow with intense power as he controls this wild energy. Finally, the energy gathers together, shaping itself into a massive divine axe. Forged from golden energy and blue light, the weapon crackles with intense force. Right then, Su Qingying arrives, stopping dead in her tracks in disbelief. She watches this mysterious warrior prepare to swing the weapon he forged. His level of control is unreal. How can anyone command this much energy? He does it with perfect steadiness, as he trained secretly for centuries. The sight instantly drags up a painful memory of her own past. Su Qingying remembers her failed attempt to reach the 2-star ghost axe. The pure pressure forced her back, spitting blood and bedridden for a week. Despite her natural strength, she failed. How is Fang Yi managing this? The closer she gets to him, the more incredibly stunned she becomes. The spiritual energy is massive, and his control of every swing is perfect. Every single bit of his power looks purified thousands of times over. It is totally beyond anything she has ever witnessed in her life. He is not just some powerful monster, he is practically a god. She notes his calm. Most pioneers rush their breakthrough, but not him. Fang Yi moves with the mind of a master. Suddenly, her thoughts break. The massive, flaming divine axe begins to shift. She watches him in awe. At its peak, he swings the weapon toward the east with absolute purpose. Fang Yi's eyes burn with golden light as energy cracks across his face. Floating in a blinding golden storm, he controls the wild surge perfectly. He successfully tames the energy to evolve. Then, a system window pops up. It officially confirms his breakthrough to the realm of 2-star ghost axe. The divine axe descends, unleashing a massive shockwave across the entire mountain. Su Qingying gets caught in the blast and braces herself against the wave. The leftover force carves a massive path straight through the dense forest. The blast fades away, but when she looks up, Fang Yi is gone. He has completely vanished. She breathes heavily from both exhaustion and frustration. Su Qingying cannot believe she lost him again, especially being so quick. She got here in merely 30 seconds. A dark thought crosses her mind. He definitely knew she was trailing him. If he stays this hidden, she is in trouble. Her recruitment mission is going to be impossible, just as she prepares to give up. She suddenly stops mid-track as a brilliant idea strikes her mind. She turns her eyes away from the wreckage toward a massive ancient tree. The old trunk glows with a soft, lingering golden light right now. With complete certainty, she calls out to the empty forest. "Senior, are you still there?" Suddenly, from the deep shadows, Fang Yi appears. His hooded figure radiates cold confidence. Red eyes glow under his hood. He glares at Su Qingying. He knows she is the one tracking him. Standing her ground, she introduces herself as the captain of the Firefly Squad. She stood her ground and introduced herself as the captain of the Firefly Squad. She belongs to the Xia Nation's Spiritual Practitioner Association as a top pioneer. "Join us on behalf of the group," she extends a sincere invitation. She admits she followed him for 2 days, hoping her actions did not leave a bad impression. As she speaks, Fang Yi remains completely silent. His face is absolutely unreadable. While he remains hooded, Suching explains their secret plans. The public knows nothing, but the association has his paperwork ready. Terrified of angering him, she treads very carefully during this chat. Respect is key, but her planned speech gets cut short anyway. "Why should I join?" Fang Yi bluntly asks, cutting her off. That completely catches her off guard. Seriously, she is in total panic. Empty words are useless. She realizes that almost immediately. The truth is her only play. She regains her composure. She explains their goal: to guide the nation's early pioneers. They want to offer them solid organization and protection. She knows it sounds like a cage to a free spirit. Still, she begs him to look at the massive oncoming crisis of spiritual energy. A massive wave of energy is coming. Everyone must unite. Unite or perish, yet Feng Yi remains totally unmoved. He casually leans against a tree, looking completely bored. Signing up is simply not happening, and he makes his refusal very clear. He cannot trust her or her association yet. Suching is stunned, speechless. Her eyes go wide with total shock. Desperate, she pulls her official ID card from her jacket. She was a famous runner before the spiritual energy finally returned. She begs him to believe her, hoping past fame helps. Hoping her public identity brings trust, she waits while Feng Yi pauses. Touching his chin, he admits that he now remembers her. He recalls her victory photo as a national championship runner-up. Naturally athletic, that made her an efficient pioneer. However, his face turns dead serious as a dark thought hits. Memories flash, a vision of a ruined society fills his mind. In his original timeline, the association and the nation failed to save humanity. Total extinction, their entire struggle back then led to nothing. But he has returned with his system, determined to change that tragic fate. Joining their group right now, that is definitely not the right move. Looking back at the hopeful Suching, he adopts a more thoughtful look. He tells her he will think about it, but before she can speak, he leaps into the air and vanishes like a ghost. Suddenly, he reappears right behind the startled Suching. Keep my current location an absolute secret. That is his primary demand. Their respectful attitude shows they fear provoking unaffiliated experts. This is a clear weakness that Feng Yi can exploit. Seeing a potential opening, Suching quickly proposes a very clever deal. She offers to write a report combining both truths and lies. This will protect him while satisfying her demanding bosses. Watching him leave, Suching tried to call out, but he was already gone. He vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving Su Qing to hike down the slope empty-handed. Irritated and tired, she trudged back, grumbling about failing to capture him and the lingering energy trail she had to erase, until a voice suddenly crackled through her earpiece. The voice ordered her to stop worrying about the pioneer and remember her actual mission. The monsters were back. Su Qing froze in sheer shock. A terrifying memory flooded her mind, being completely surrounded by savage, wolf-like beasts. Red eyes glowing and mouths dripping with blood, those beasts were impossible to forget. They were merciless monsters born right inside the toxic pollution zones. Created by the sudden return of spiritual energy, these areas fed their power. They became human devourers, and some even disguised themselves as natural disasters to kill humans and expand the zones, if left unchecked. Their endless hunger would consume the world. Meanwhile, a fierce storm suddenly battered the city. Incessant lightning tore through the sky as rain poured, triggering severe red alerts. Mobile phones buzzed with warnings, urging citizens to stay indoors and avoid the danger. Soon, another alert announced the complete closure of Yang Mountain due to severe flooding. Locals joked online that some powerful cultivator was facing a divine trial. In a dark, rainy alley, Fenrir watched the chaos unfold, his red eye glowing. Feeling the immense lightning energy in the air, he knew this was no normal storm. The wild power was unmistakable. This was a massive anomaly with highly focused energy. His gaze swept across the city, locking onto a distant mountain peak. Lightning struck repeatedly, the center. Without hesitation, Fenrir shot into the downpour, leaping from rooftop to rooftop. He arrived at the base of Yang Mountain, where his system instantly chimed. The system confirmed a pollution zone, instead of its usual beautiful scenery. The once beautiful peak was now a graveyard of skeletal remains. Talk about creepy. A new warning flashed: unknown pollution level. Still, Fenrir didn't hesitate. He marched straight into the dark, stormy forest with absolute focus. As he drew closer, an immense bolt of blue lightning struck the peak. The flash illuminated everything around him. There he was. Meanwhile, at the command center of the Association of Spiritual Practitioners, tension ran high. Officials gathered as a massive screen displayed a swirling blue energy vortex. A staff member reported a rapid spike in danger levels on Yang Mountain. They demanded its immediate closure and reclassification as a contamination zone. Realizing how serious this was, the association leader ordered Su Qing's immediate recall. He wanted her pulled from her current mission to handle this emergency. However, Su Qing reported that ascending the mountain right now was entirely impossible. The unstable lightning energy was building up and about to violently explode. Because of this, they officially classified the mountain as a level of contamination zone. She then delivered even worse news: the mountain would soon escalate. Reaching level S would trigger their absolute maximum emergency response plan. But Su Qing pointed out a fatal problem: absolutely none of their explorers, not even herself, could safely approach that area. Shock rippled through the room. Calculations predicted absolute certain death, even for their strongest, most advanced explorers. A security chief ordered the complete isolation of Yang Mountain's base immediately. They set up 24/7 patrols to ensure absolutely no one could ascend. The association ordered the entire mountain to be isolated immediately. No one was allowed to approach until the energy levels dropped. But while they deemed Yang Mountain too deadly, Fang Yi was already deep inside. Massive blue lightning bolts crashed all around him as the storm raged. Yet Fang Yi stood firm, protected by a golden breathing barrier. But he knew deep down that just surviving this storm wouldn't be enough. To claim the purest lightning, he had to reach the peak. He was driven by dark memories of the apocalyptic disasters to come. The beasts were just the start, and his fire wasn't enough. Surrounded by lightning, he had to grow stronger. Fang Yi couldn't just rely on his sword, he needed real physical power. This storm was his absolute best chance to temper his body. Without this strength, the coming disasters would bring certain death. His eyes glowed with a fierce and brilliant golden light. Drawing his blazing sword, he thrust it directly into a massive lightning bolt. Wild, violent energy surged into his body, causing intense agony. But his expression remained completely resolute as his body shook. The brutal electricity felt like a heavy, divine punishment tearing him apart. Yet he fought back, refusing to let it crush him. The chaotic sky seemed to demand his surrender, but he stood firm. How could he force this wild, brute energy to obey? Watch closely. Recalling his system rules, he reached out to touch the source. A brilliant golden aura erupted as he activated his golden flame technique. Determined to break through, Fang Yi let out a deafening roar. He charged forward, using his flaming sword to slice through the lightning. The clash of golden energy and raw storm triggered a huge explosion. Blood dripped from his mouth, but his eyes burned with defiance. This was a desperate, life-or-death gamble with no turning back. After a brutal, exhausting climb, Fang Yi finally reached the peak. He drove his blazing sword deep into the stone, cracking the very mountaintop. Here, the dense, violent pressure made it nearly impossible to breathe. Fang Yi felt the pressure, realizing the storm wanted him dead. It was a direct assault, as if the heavens wanted to punish him. The storm gathered its full power, preparing a devastating final strike. A colossal white lightning beam shot down, destined to destroy him. But right before impact, his trusty system suddenly flared to life. It began processing the divine energy while, below, the city watched. From tall buildings, onlookers stared up in absolute, stunned silence. One man zoomed in, capturing rapid photos of the majestic display. Another wondered if some ancient god was undergoing trial up there. Then a brilliant explosion lit up the entire sky. Fang Yi had won. The system confirmed he had successfully absorbed the legendary divine thunder. He was rewarded with 5 points as he floated in midair. Flickering blue sparks and a warm golden aura danced around him. This new thunder attribute, a highly potent force for offense and defense, differed. It was different from his defensive solar power, acting to refine his body. He would transform into intense, raw energy, forming both a spear and shield. He realized this supreme power brought not only pure destruction, but absolute purification. This lightning rebirth would flow deep, strengthening his bones and muscles completely. Without feeling any pain, he landed softly as the system offered an upgrade. Double critical damage was available if he spent his rare writing points. After obtaining it, Funi pondered his next move, wanting to infuse the sword. He considered the Tang sword carefully. The blade would definitely grow stronger. But he feared compromising the pure solar energy already resting within it. Mixing too many distinct powers in one item could easily damage or destroy it. Before that happened, a new idea emerged as he stared at his own hand. Funi decided to implant the thunder attribute directly into his right hand. The system immediately responded, asking if this was his final attribute choice. A highly confident smile appeared on his face as he gave the final command. Violent blue lightning surged through the air, rushing straight into his open palm. By the next morning, the lightning storm on Yuan Mountain had fully cleared. Down on a cliff below, Suking and Major Hein stood over body bags. Suking reported that the hazardous energy of the contamination zone had collapsed. It went from a highly lethal level to practically nothing in 3 hours. Even with remaining sparks in the air, Major Hein immediately caught on. He listened closely and deduced that a powerful seeker had been there. Suking was shocked, asking if any seeker could have survived this event. She knelt down, desperately searching for clues, but felt absolutely nothing. Assuming the heavy rain washed the traces away, she concluded they escaped. They must have left around 8 last night, and the Major agreed. The storm started around 6 o'clock, and troops sealed the mountain by 7. So the mysterious seeker had to have climbed up before the lockdown. Their sensors showed the threat was critical. But after 8 o'clock, the extreme energy levels plummeted. The Major theorized that whoever was up there did not just survive. They likely absorbed the storm, wielding massive thunder-related power. This unknown person was the direct cause of the sudden energy shift. It was a major opportunity, but also his absolute biggest worry. Unregistered experts like this were wild cards with completely unknown loyalties. Suking agreed, warning that someone this powerful could trigger an absolute disaster. They had to track him down, completely unaware he was miles away. Sitting lazily on his couch, Funi let out a peaceful, quiet sigh. Meanwhile, back at the command base, Major Hein issued a firm command. Find this mysterious seeker immediately, no matter what it takes. They officially designated their high-value target with the code name Tyrant. The sweeping investigation of Yuan Mountain was launched without delay. They hoped the local association would recruit the Tyrant first. Until then, they locked down the file to keep everything completely secret. They were running their own investigation. Up on the rainy mountain peak, the association leader told the Major. Major Hanley noted that a high-level pioneer was already attempting contact. Then he turned to Suchenying and ordered her to present her report to him immediately. Suchenying was caught off guard by the sudden command, gasping, forced to think fast. She began sharing half-truths, connecting this current incident to the mysterious pioneer who recently cleared the local university pollution zone. Terrified, Suchenying desperately hid her secret deal with Fang Yi. she explained. How hard it was to contact him, mentioning they found and correctly identified the carcass of a mutant rabbit possessing a yang flame attribute. She promised to approach Fang Yi to uncover how he cleared the university gate. Quietly praying her mix of truths and lies would work, Major Hanley listened. Deeply pondering a pioneer with a yang attribute, highly satisfied, he thanked her. Praising her as a talented young pioneer, Suchening saluted firmly, stating it was simply her duty. As the meeting ended, Major Hanley announced they would release fake natural disaster reports to cover up the truth and that he strongly opposed publishing any details about spiritual energy online due to the risk of public panic. As the officers talked, Suchening sighed, deeply relieved the interrogation was over. Safe at home, Fang Yi used his golden sun breathing technique to dry his hoodie, threw it on, and immediately checked for physical changes. He could feel a massive difference now, especially with his new thunder attribute. Crackling with bright blue sparks, his right hand had become his strongest weapon, yielding a massive power boost. Flexing his fingers to form spheres of raw electricity, he felt a massive breakthrough approaching, but the real shocker was how that wild, destructive thunder had become totally docile, allowing him free and effortless control, unlike the agonizing pain of unlocking his yang attribute. He wondered if these energies weakened during absorption. Luckily, the system promised this lightning would deal double damage to strange and evil creatures. He could barely wait to test it. Suddenly, a phone alert interrupted his thoughts. Filled with curiosity, he checked it, having set up custom emergency alerts after the last incident. For a pioneer, every single crisis was an opportunity to grow much stronger, even at the risk of death. Looking closer, Fang Yi saw news of a massive chemical factory explosion causing some serious, toxic pollution in the city. The official reports claimed 0 casualties and called for calm. Yeah, right. But he smelled a cover-up. On various online forums, witnesses told a far more terrifying story. Local residents described a strange, chilling sensation they just couldn't seem to explain. One user asked if it was some cold, evil aura, and others quickly agreed the dread was real. Those specific words, cold, evil aura, sounded painfully familiar to Fang Yi, triggering a terrible memory from his past life. A bloody hand, a horrifying face, hiding in absolute terror from a red demonic beast that tore everything apart. The memory was too vivid. The creature, a disgusting, multi-eyed rat-like monster, was a threat. Fang Yi knew all too well. Right now he grew dead serious. He recalled how these beasts worked, normal plants or animals that, upon gaining sentience, had their powers spiral wild, quickly turning into horrifying, ruthless hunters and killers. They loved to strike in the dead of night. Realizing this new threat was 100 times more dangerous than that mutant rabbit, Fang Yi knew he had to move. Out in the dark, rain-soaked night, he prepared to strike. Rain lashed empty city streets as traffic lights cycled. Suddenly, a dark blur shot across wet asphalt, the destroyer squad. These hooded figures pursued their target with incredible, terrifying speed. They radioed base. Anomaly File 7, Candle Night, was tracked. But the target slipped away, its ability to melt into shadows making it. Chilling, terrifying details were added to the target's dark file. It hissed in darkness, devouring any human nearby. As lightning split the roaring sky, the squad landed on a rooftop. Their scarred leader knew this heavy storm was perfect for the beast. He declared they could not let this horror continue. Meanwhile, miles away in a bustling command center, an operator received word. Confirming the data transmission, he filed the details for Candle Night. This was a high-priority, maximum danger extermination request. The threat had to be completely neutralized within 12 hours. Headquarters ordered immediate pursuit, but prioritizing their own safety. They instantly resumed the hunt, leaping between wet skyscrapers. The leader paused to study a glowing blue hologram of the metropolis. Red markers pulsed with danger, and he knew 12 hours was barely enough. Slow response time, but the best headquarters could manage. The country was vast, and endless anomalies overwhelmed their resources. As the squad neared the coordinates, a new alert flashed. The operator warned that another group already claimed the zone. Cultivator Association agents were already occupying the area. A profile of their leader, Su King, flashed across the squad's screen. Her elite team of pioneers was nearby and could provide crucial assistance. Recognizing her legendary reputation, the squad leader immediately requested her aid. Fang Yi was quietly amused by her fame as they waited in the pouring rain. Soon Fang Yi and her hooded squad arrived, talk about a dramatic entrance. They claimed the highest rooftop, and she looked down with casual arrogance. Hand on hip, she casually asked if they were the cause of her overtime. The destroyer squad leader did not appreciate her incredibly relaxed attitude. He snapped back that the candle night was eating people. This was far more serious than some extra hours, but Fang Yi's ally retorted. Smirking, Fang Yi turned to leave, dripping with sarcastic remarks. Since they seemed so incredibly capable, she figured they would not need her help. She called for her Ying squad to withdraw, leaving them in the rain. Her subordinates murmured as they walked off, gossiping about her fierce temper. The squad leader panicked, quickly calling after them as they walked away. He apologized for his harsh tone, practically begging her elite squad to stay. Explaining the beast's true threat, he begged for Fang Yi's crucial tracking. Without her unique tracking abilities, they were completely blind in the dark. If they failed tonight, countless innocent citizens would pay the ultimate price. Reluctantly agreeing to cooperate, both squads took up positions on the rooftop. Ready for the hunt, Fang Yi closed her eyes and deeply concentrated. A glowing sphere of energy materialized in her hand. She located the target. An energy pulse expands, exposing the monster hidden inside the damp, dark ruins. Chemical factory, the Candle Knight, a monstrous rat creature with too many eyes, was feeding. Records warned it craves damp darkness, humidity, and human flesh. With the target locked down, Fang Yi orders the joint operation to begin. The beast's sharp senses flare instantly, snapping its head up as it feels them. It leaps back a split second before a heavy strike smashes the concrete. A destroyer squad member yells that they have been spotted, bracing for impact. He orders the team into formation as they move with terrifying, fluid speed. Their cloaks blurring into shadows, they hunt the monster, cutting off all exits. Trapped on all sides, the hunters raise a collective battle cry, ready to strike. One warrior charges in, slamming a brutal blow directly into the beast, pinning it against the rubble, but instead of falling, the creature begins mutating. Red, bleeding wounds tear open as jagged black thorns erupt from its back. Screaming in fury, the Candle Knight unleashes a swirling vortex of dark energy. Fang Yi screams a desperate warning for everyone to dodge the incoming shockwave. Too late, a devastating sonic blast explodes outward, tearing through the air. The shockwave flings the squad back. The destroyer leader is hurled off the roof. Plummeting onto the hard pavement below, a comrade rushes frantically to his side. Groaning in pain, the leader admits he barely pulled back enough to avoid shattered bones. The threat is real. He knows this thing is far too dangerous to let go. If this monstrosity escapes into the city, a bloodbath is absolutely guaranteed. The beast mutates again. Its throat glows with a sickening green light, spewing a dark, highly corrosive acid that fills the air with toxic smoke. It sprays the acid downward, melting the concrete to dig an escape route. A member of Su King's team warns of the monster's corrosive power. Anything it touches turns to ash. Su King watches, completely calm, knowing her team does not have the raw strength to fight this thing head-on. She orders them to observe closely while staying out of the destroyer's way. Their job is simple: gather intel and support the frontline strategy. Meanwhile, a destroyer clutches a dagger, waiting to ambush the escaping beast. But get this, two menacing red eyes suddenly gleam in the dark. The Candle Knight, now a Lotta class, lunges forward, barely dodging a heavy counter. Furious, the Destroyer squad leader roars out, "Do not let this monster escape." The Lotta flees wildly through the streets, pursued by the hooded Ying squad. High above on a rooftop, Su King and her subordinates watch the chase unfold. Suddenly, a massive spike of spiritual energy hits her like a physical blow. Sensing a massive shift, Su King realizes something major is about to happen. Ordering her team to keep their distance, she pursues the creature entirely alone. Entering the pitch-black abandoned factory, she prepares to scan the energy signatures. The Destroyer squad leader spots the high-tech watch strapped to her wrist. She explains it is the latest association device, designed to measure combat safety thresholds. A squad can handle up to 50 energy points. The monster was only 48. Suddenly, the screen glitters frantically. The reading spikes past 80. Su King gasps, shouting that the energy level is going completely off the charts right now. Overhead, a massive shadow with glowing red eyes stares down. They are trapped. It was a trap. Su King realized with horror that another beast lurked inside the factory. A monstrous, shadowy face of a brand new nightmare emerged right behind them. The Destroyer squad leader panicked, screaming for everyone to retreat immediately. Taking charge, Su King suggested a rapid escape through the main entrance. This would force their hidden foe to show itself. She fired a massive energy blast. Clearing a path, she yelled for the team to follow her, but escape was already impossible. She shrieked in sudden agony and collapsed, her senses completely overwhelmed by something unseen. A toxic gas filled the air. Suddenly, Su King was entirely alone. She stood stranded in the vast, green darkness of the factory, calling out for her team. Nobody answered. They were nearby, but the poison had completely cut off their senses. They simply couldn't hear her. Connecting the dots, she realized the true depth of the trap. Candle Knight had lured them right into the hunting grounds of a far deadlier monster. It was a colossal serpent, a creature she had only faintly sensed until now. Right on cue, the massive, armored head of a shadowy serpent materialized before her. Glowing green eyes stared down at her. Finally, the pieces fell into place. Unlike Candle Knight's shadow power, this monster's black mist was pure poison. They had been breathing it since they arrived, a silent, paralyzing toxin. It drained their spiritual energy. Su King felt her own reservoir running dry. She was almost entirely depleted. She would be its next victim. Falling powerlessly, she despaired at how terrifyingly smart this monster was. It was simply toying with them. She closed her eyes, ready for the end. But as she lay on the floor, a sharp beam of light pierced the green dark. Talk about perfect timing. The factory roof exploded, and a blinding light flooded in. Her eyes shot wide open as a mysterious figure descended through the smoke. It was Fang Yi, landing gracefully in the debris, a dark hooded silhouette. He stood tall before the massive serpent, completely unfazed by its size. He recognized its dark attribute immediately. Then things got wild. Without warning, the serpent lunged with massive fangs. Fang Yi easily slipped away. Suddenly, he found himself face to face with the snarling, rat-like Candle Knight. With both beasts closing in, he finally understood their trap. In a shocking move, Fang Yi let the creature bite his shoulder, blood splattered everywhere. They were smart. One drew him in while the other went for the kill. He taunted the beast clinging to his shoulder, asking if it loved biting that much. He answered by unleashing his new skill, a violent burst of blue lightning. He dared the monster to taste his electricity while preparing his next move. Simultaneously, he blasted a massive beam of golden solar energy from his free hand. The solar blast slammed into the giant snake, keeping it at bay. Shrugging off the stunned rat creature, Fang Yi locked eyes with the serpent. He unleashed a torrent of golden flames, daring the beast to handle the heat. The serpent charged back with a furious roar, its massive jaws gaping open. Spinning through the air, Fang Yi dodged and drew his glowing golden sword. Landing gracefully, he told the monster coldly to keep its eyes on his blade. Wary of the brilliant, glowing weapon, the massive snake hesitated and recoiled. Seizing the split second, Fang Yi leapt forward to deliver a crushing blow. He slammed his sword, crackling with blue lightning, directly into the beast's face. The impact was massive, but the result was completely unexpected. Instead of crushing the skull, the monster's head split right down the middle. A second identical head emerged, shedding like skin. Fungi hit the dirt, stunned. The split head separated completely, casting off its outer shell. It revealed a fully healed, true form. Green energy pulsed wildly around its neck. Fungi realized this fight was just getting started. The beast let out a deafening roar. Surge of electricity overloaded its dark energy. As it thrashed, Fungi actually grinned. He held the upper hand, noting the serpent's dark aura was stronger than expected. It was stronger than the Candle Knight's. Now, Fungi's real trap was set. He held back his flames, using his blade to run pure lightning into the beast. This thing was far more evolved and deadly than any basic Candle Knight. Suddenly, a sharp pain flared in his shoulder, right where the beast bit him. Strange purple scales began sprouting rapidly from the open wound. Exactly as he suspected, a highly intelligent mutant species. The toxic venom injected from that sneak attack had a paralyzing effect. Designed to kill silently, pain flared, but his Golden Sun technique activated. His specialized breathing technique immediately began burning away the venom. With a sharp glare, Fungi pushed his energy. A raw surge pulsed through him. This mix of yang fire and thunder served as an instant shield against toxins, alerting him to danger so he could neutralize it. Talk about a lucky break. For anyone else, this hidden serpent toxin would mean certain death. The monster had clearly grown this strong by ambushing unsuspecting hunters. Its hidden den must be piled high with the bones of its victims. Using the Candle Knight as bait, these monsters created a perfect high-tier trap. That explained all the missing explorers, but none of that mattered now. Watching the massive skeleton burn to black ash, Fungi smiled. Its reign was done. Standing before the blaze, Fungi felt good. His raw power was impressive enough. But that triple critical lightning strike had truly sealed the deal. His combat skills now easily rivaled the absolute best elite pioneers. He stood quietly as the fire consumed the beast. Turning to Lave, he froze. He reached out, sensing a faint shift in the air. His eyes narrowed. He was not alone. Someone was still lurking nearby. A soot-covered figure stumbled right out of the thick smoke, coughing heavily. It was Suking, exhausted but alive, surrounded by her knocked-out squadmates. Fungi recognized her instantly. She was indeed an association agent. He told her coldly to drop the act. Her playing dead was pretty terrible. Caught completely off guard, Suking hid her face in total embarrassment. She realized this guy was the legendary elite she had been desperately tracking. Stammering, she claimed the terrible smell woke her up, but Fungi did not buy it. He noted that while her teammates were drained, she still kept her shields active. A secret reserve of energy kept her protected this entire time. If she were actually unconscious, she wouldn't have smelled a thing. Flustered and exposed, Suking could only stammer out an awkward thank you. He had picked up on everything, even her heavily masked spiritual energy. How he had single-handedly defeated the Candle Knight and the giant serpent. Seeing how embarrassed she is, Fang Yi softens his voice. He tells her to lower her hands. He just needs her to keep his secret. They are safe now, so he decides to slip away. Su King tries to shout for him to stop, but he is already too far away. Claiming an explanation would ruin the mystery, he leaps toward the shattered ceiling. He slips through the shattered ceiling into the night, leaping across the quiet rooftops. He is relieved Su King did not touch the poison. He cannot help but wonder why he was completely unable to absorb that repulsive energy. He figures the dark energy must have vanished into thin air. Maybe his body instinctively rejected the poison, but he decides to ignore it for now. No point worrying now. Alone in the massive factory, Su King stands. She stares up at the moonlit gap where Fang Yi just escaped. A heavy sigh escapes her lips, deeply disappointed she never got a clear look at him. It is a tough blow to her confidence, but she cannot linger. Shaking off the quiet gloom, she immediately slips right back into her fierce leader role. She finds the unconscious destroyer captain and violently shakes him awake. The bruised captain groans, slowly opening his eyes in complete and utter confusion. Panic hits him instantly as he bolts upright, screaming that they have just been ambushed. Su King just stands there, completely calm. The captain looks around and freezes. Check this out, the giant, steaming skeleton of that serpent lies directly in front of them. Jaw dropped, the captain demands to know what happened here. Who unleashed that insane surge of yang energy? Su King remains completely quiet and calm. She tells him a powerful pioneer stepped in to save their lives. She weaves a perfect cover story, claiming this mysterious pioneer was likely their original target. A high-tier powerhouse with yang traits who just happened to cross their path. She frames his timely appearance as a lucky break, leaving her entire squad absolutely speechless. One guy actually took down both of those high-level threats alone. Su King drops another bomb. The powerhouse is unregistered, and he actually tracked her down. Talk about a mysterious power, but the captain has to get back to work. He asks about the candle night and channels green energy to begin clearing the area. They need to secure any leftover remains for the association's research. The captain uses an orb of glowing green energy to sweep up the dark residue. But as he steps forward, he treads on a stray piece of debris. Suddenly, a massive burst of bright blue electricity erupts violently right under his heavy boot. He leaps back with a pained shriek. Su King gasps in shock. Wait, this changes everything because the remains are still pulsing with wild, residual electricity. The captain glares at Su King, highly skeptical of her report now. She claimed their savior used yang energy, but this is clearly an intense electrical force. The two of them kneel down to inspect the charred body closely. Su King is secretly stunned by the incredible force of this leftover, crackling lightning spark. It is definitely a high-level thunder skill. The captain frowns, piecing it together. The captain wonders if two legendary, high-level pioneers actually showed up here together tonight. One for each beast leaving together, but Su King knows the truth. How can she possibly explain the unbelievable truth when she remembers Fang Yi so clearly? A single man wielding both crackling blue lightning and blazing golden flames. It was unbelievable. Nobody should possess two high-level powers. One was genius, but two, the impossible proof was right before them. The giant serpent's burning skeleton was clearly a yang flame. Walker's work, while Candle Knight's electrified body showed thunder tyrant energy. The team stood completely frozen. What kind of monster was Fang Yi? Reinforcements finally arrived. Su King felt relieved she left her team. Outside, if she had delayed, they would have reported her missing. She realized with dread that the rescue squad only came to collect their corpses. Her two poisoned subordinates, knocked out by the venom, finally woke up and rushed over, crying tears of relief. They were glad she was alive. The association team started working. Their mission shifted completely from a simple rescue to forensic investigation. Using advanced scanning tech, they carefully analyzed the lingering spiritual energy. They wanted to reconstruct the fight for headquarters. Soon, an expert approached Su King and the destroyer squad leader with their shocking findings. After comparing combat patterns and damage, the conclusion was absolutely clear. There was a 99% probability that one person defeated both. The leaders exchanged worried glances. The others murmured, stunned, saved by pioneer with two distinct high-level powers was completely unthinkable. Either monster would easily wipe them out, yet this expert crushed them with single strikes. The power gap was absolutely absurd. Realizing the sheer weight of this, Su King contacted her superior. She reported the crucial target update while staring at the ceiling. She confirmed the mysterious college pioneer and the tyrant were identical. Back at the office, the association chief listened to her report. After pondering the situation, he ordered Su King to halt the mission. The pioneer had saved her team, killed the beasts, and cleared the area. These were not enemy actions, though he and Major Hanley disagreed on the matter, to keep her safe and to avoid making a bad impression on such a powerful ally. She had to stop contact. She must avoid the tyrant for now, agreeing on the phone. Su King still shared one more crucial light with her boss. She had tracked the tyrant to the back mountain area, sensing him advancing his raw power. The chief, intrigued, demanded an immediate explanation. She recounted how she felt an incredibly heavy aura at the location. At the time, she suspected a spiritual weapon, but dismissed the idea. Now, with 2 confirmed powers, it seemed very possible. The association superior was shocked, but deeply doubted if the pioneer truly owned one. He was highly skeptical, calling it completely unlikely. He argued that no solo pioneer could obtain such a rare item without external help. Besides, they found 0 traces of a third spiritual energy, which separately manufactured weapons typically have. Su King quickly corrected him. The weapon aura she felt during their first clash was clearly a Yang attribute. That single piece of intel changed everything, leaving the chief completely stunned. It made sense. If his weapon's attributes came from his own Yang energy, he was not just wielding it but creating it. Truly mind-blowing. If he could forge his own spiritual weapons, he was a spirit creation. Realm cultivator. Someone like that could work alone, but this power was legendary. Su Qing was completely stunned. Cultivators of this caliber were extremely rare. There were barely 2 worldwide. The superior considered an even more terrifying possibility. A separate third attribute would completely shift the balance of power, shaking the pioneer community. According to research, he explained, different attributes always clash inside the body, making coexistence impossible. No pioneer with 3 spiritual attributes had ever been confirmed. Even if he truly possessed a spiritual weapon, this lack of a third energy signature was actually a great sign. The call ended, leaving the superior with a single, deeply worrying thought. He could only hope such a powerful pioneer would never turn against humanity. Back in his apartment, Fang Yi took a hot shower, washing away all the grime and heavy fatigue of battle. He dried off and quietly reflected on the current state of the world. Less than a year remained until the official revitalization of spiritual energy, but dangerous monsters and bizarre anomalies were already becoming increasingly frequent. He used his Yang attribute to dry his clothes instantly, his hand glowing with golden energy. Honestly, who knows how many other wild pioneers were already cultivating on their own. He remembered those aggressive guys from Lava River, realizing that as the link between the body and the spiritual world opened up, people naturally became highly sensitive to these changes. Even without official approval, many self-taught pioneers had already reached the 1-star ghost action realm. The government's sudden contact via agents like Su Qing to find wild pioneers like him indicated a peaceful phase of mutual exploration. Back in his room, thinking about Major Hanlei and Su Qing, Fang Yi concluded that for now, the monsters were under control and there were no major conflicts between any of the pioneer factions. As he finished dressing, he knew this peace was incredibly fragile. The government had already established the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association while keeping the general public in the dark. He understood their strategy. While people gossiped about local issues and weird occurrences, the government walked a very thin line, trying to protect humanity and drop subtle early warnings without causing mass panic. Despite his recent victories, Fang Yi's analysis of the world situation remained pretty bleak. He knew the real issue was the government's hesitation to officially kickstart mass cultivation era for the general public. He understood that once the truth came out, society would likely collapse, plunging straight into Absolute chaos and death. Currently, not even official pioneers could stop the inevitable collapse, the mixture of internal breakdowns and external monster. Threats would only make things worse. Still, he admitted the government's cautious step-by-step approach was not wrong. He was well aware that human panic could easily be far more destructive than any monster. What actually worried him, though, was the monster's rapid evolution speed, which far exceeded his expectations. He carefully reviewed the data on the beasts he had just put down. They were the classic result of dark attribute contamination. Specifically the shadow attribute, a dark energy subbranch according to his system. It was a natural enemy to pioneers and completely unabsorbable for now. He realized these beasts were actually smart, working together to hunt. They lured and slaughtered pioneers, viewing them as a prime food source. But compared to the real dark monsters from his past life, they were weak. True world enders, capable of wiping out entire nations single-handedly. Even so, this encounter was a chilling reminder of the rising danger. Without him there, Shu Xinying and her squad would have been slaughtered. Absolute annihilation, but the system's words gave him a sudden hope. Since the shadow power was only temporarily unabsorbable, he had a chance. Under the right conditions, he could master it for his future battles. He took stock of his current skills, like the Golden Sun Breath. That meant Yang Attribute, Divine Thunder, and his Crimson Flame Blade. Having these top-tier, highly compatible moves gave him a massive edge. As a 3-star Ghost Actions Realm Pioneer, almost nobody could match him. And yet, he knew deep down that this still was not enough. Then his phone buzzed. Talk about some incredibly perfect timing. Fang Yi was surprised to hear his aunt say his cousin was coming. Worried about the girl's safety, his aunt wanted her to stay with him. She suggested his apartment over some hotel, but Fang Yi barely remembered her. Just a quiet girl, a book-obsessed, perfect overachiever. Honestly, he couldn't even picture her face, but he agreed. He told his aunt he had a spare room and asked her arrival time. His aunt just promised to send the address and let her travel alone. Meanwhile, in a dark room lit by a computer, Lin Yi was typing. Clad in a hoodie, her fingers flew across the keyboard as she hung up. That call was with her mother, who ordered her to the cousin's place. She was supposed to arrive at Fang Yi's apartment the next afternoon. Lin Yi quickly brushed off the call, claiming she was too busy. Instead, her screen showed a secret chat window for a local Vanguard group. Using her alias, she announced her arrival in this dangerous new city. She told the chat she was bunking at her cousin's place for now. She opened a new tab on the infamous City of Death. Get ready. 3 more people had vanished, all tied to a bizarre online challenge. Looking closely at the gruesome photos, Lin Yi pinpointed the exact location. This was definitely her kind of mission. Suddenly, her mother walked in. She asked if Lin Yi was packed, who sighed and suggested a hotel. But her mother wouldn't hear of it, insisting her cousin's place was safer. Her last piece of advice was simple: behave yourself and help with chores. Lin Yi promised she would, finally closing the door behind her with a sigh. This family visit was just another annoying obstacle she had to deal with. She pushed up her glasses with a cold, determined look in her eyes. No matter how weird her cousin was, he couldn't be tougher than monsters. The next afternoon, she was rolling her suitcase right up to his building. She stared at the building, checking the address on her phone to make sure. This had to be the place. She was finally about to meet her cousin. Right outside, Lin Yi spotted her cousin walking out of the building. Carrying a bag, she called out, asking if he was her cousin, stopping him. He asked if she was Lin Yi, admitting to himself he did not recognize her. Later, inside the apartment, they sat on the sofa for a polite conversation. Fang Yi asked if she was in town for a summer camp, which she confirmed. He offered some help, handing over the key to her room, which was across from his, before heading to his own room. Once he left, she felt relieved he would not interfere, yet Fang Yi was not. Naive from the moment she sat down, he noticed a faint, strange, spiritual energy radiating from her, making him instantly suspect she was a pioneer. That faint yet unmistakable aura confirmed everything. The summer camp was just a cover story for her real mission in town. In her room, Lin Yi confirming Fang Yi's suspicions messaged the martial arts vanguard. Her cousin seemed pretty calm and unlikely to interfere. The group messaged back about the powerful lava river. Pioneer, Lin Yi warned them to be careful, as many powerful ones still hid. After they agreed to wait for her signal, she ended the call. She decided to postpone her cultivation, fearing her cousin might discover her secret. 3 days passed. Fang Yi realized living together made cultivation difficult. Meditations could be interrupted at any moment, like when she walked out of the bathroom wearing only a towel. Talk about awkward. He also worried about this, his breathing technique being too obvious to hide, but the hardest part was her overwhelming kindness. One evening, she served up a delicious dinner she had prepared. He tried washing the dishes, but she refused, calling it her duty. Fang Yi found her polite perfection and extreme cleanliness almost strange, but despite the discomfort, he decided to just accept it. He figured that by letting her be overly helpful, she would lower her guard. It would be his only chance to find out what she was really planning. Their peaceful dinner was suddenly interrupted by her phone vibrating on the table. Both stared at the message in surprise. Fang Yi seized the chance to excuse himself and retreated, giving her some privacy. His cousin nodded silently as he walked away. Once alone, she pondered for a second before grabbing her phone. Sitting on the bed, she answered with absolute seriousness. She repeated the information, hearing that the great change of heaven and earth would happen tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. She promised to be there. Fang Yi overheard his cousin's entire conversation with absolute ease. She agreed to meet at the entrance of Yanghu, an internet-famous suburban town about an hour away. With his suspicions now confirmed, he watched her through the wall, his spiritual energy sharpening. He was absolutely certain she was a pioneer, but would she sense his presence? With her current strength, she would not sense him lurking nearby. He was impressed by her sheer power, an elementary schooler, yet already in the 2-star realm of high ghosts, nearing another breakthrough. Fang Yi wondered if her high talent explained her peculiar personality. Now, he finally understood her true about her real purpose in the city. The summer camp was just an excuse. She discovered the massive impending shift of heaven and earth and was heading straight to its epicenter. Fang Yi knew these world-changing events were the perfect chance to gain new techniques and grow stronger. What kind of power would emerge now? It did not even matter. Completely determined, Fang Yi decided he would seize whatever power emerged for himself. Inside the room, his cousin Lin Yi suddenly stopped, feeling watched. She looked around, but the moonlit mountains were the only thing there. Shrugging it off, she went back to her packing. The next day, Yanhu City was bustling. Right at the entrance, with the looming mountains in the background, Lin Yi met up with a friend from her pioneer group, who immediately teased her. Asking if her cousin was handsome, Lin Yi replied he was a good guy, but pretty average. Her friend sighed in total disappointment. Right then, a redhead in a purple dress joined in, reminding them that Lin always thought of herself as just an ordinary girl. With the team ready, the redhead announced it was time to get to work. Someone asked about a missing member. The redhead confirmed they would only be 6, explaining that guy is always a complete mystery. From a nearby cafe balcony, Fang Yi watched them, sword resting at his side. He could see his cousin and her group, though they tried to act low-key, was secretly radiating massive power. The weakest was a 2-star high ghost. The guy who spoke was a 3-star. Watching closely, Fang Yi overheard that the group was incredibly strong, though their most powerful member was almost always missing. His attention then shifted toward the mountains ringed around the city. His eyes narrowed with quiet anticipation. Get ready, because the real show is about to start. High in those peaks, the great shift of heaven and earth finally exploded. a massive green vine dropped right out of the clouds, looking like a legendary beanstalk. This bizarre, harmless event was a crucial key for pioneers to unlock the changing world. Deep within the foggy, misty mountains, Lin Yi and her team stumbled right onto the incredible sight. The red-haired leader gasped. Confirming this was their target, the group stared in disbelief at the massive pulsating vine, but that awe quickly turned into absolute terror. Her adventurous friend, pale and shaking, begged them to stop. She explained that the sight of this vine filled her with absolute, terrible dread. The leader asked about the online rumors. Her fear came from a dark legend she knew of pioneers far stronger than them who had touched the vine last time and met a gruesome end. Their bones were left twisted in the shadowy root system of the plant. Gripped by total terror, she clutched her head, dreading the exact same fate for them. Suddenly, the surrounding reality warped. They were no longer on the mountain, but trapped inside a pulsating, fleshy cave with a floor of organic tentacles. That vision of their deaths was just a terrifying premonition. Coming back to the misty trail, her friend was still trembling with dread, though willing to risk everything as a pioneer. Facing this vine triggered an overwhelming fear. Her instinct screamed this was a brand new, unknown high-level monster, a mutation she could never defeat. Sobbing, she declared she simply could not go on. They were ready to die right there and just give up. The red-haired leader and Lin stared at their terrified companion, understanding perfectly. They all felt that same soul-crushing weight from the giant vine. Lin Yi described it as an absolute void, as if all life had been swallowed whole, leaving nothing but an empty husk. No wonder they felt such dread. Honestly, this monster was pure nightmare fuel, seeking to steal their energy. Just as their terrified companion began to panic, Lin Yi grabbed her hand with fierce determination. She declared that this was the path of the martial pioneer, a path that demanded facing dangers head-on, unseen by everyone. Fang Yi watched from a high cliff. He too felt the suffocating death energy out of all the beasts he had ever fought, except dark attribute monsters. This vine felt the absolute worst. Still, he had to admit this group had serious guts for trying to cultivate in such a deadly place. He studied the monster closely. Even though it was a plant, normally a symbol of life, it looked completely dead. It was just pretending to be alive, empty of spiritual energy. He could see it was stained with blood and the bones of past victims. Back down below, Lin Yi took charge. Standing near the edge, she spoke to her allies with a renewed sense of purpose. They had zero time to waste, aware of the danger. She proposed a safer plan: to sense the monster's energy from a distance while safely observing the area. Lin Yi found a high branch to sit and meditate, enveloping herself inside a protective bubble of blue spiritual energy. From a faraway cliff, Fang Yi watched. Impressed by their caution, he noted this was the perfect spot for cultivation. He had to give credit to his cousin, the top student who found the perfect range, neither too scared nor foolhardy. As Lin Yi's cultivation grew stronger, the spiritual energy around her flared up. Fang Yi watched, quite surprised to see she was about to break through to the 3-star realm of phantom deeds. He was truly impressed. Suddenly, with a flash of brilliant blue light, she completed her breakthrough. Her allies watched in total shock at the sheer power she now commanded, proving her absolute genius. But this massive shockwave of energy did not go unnoticed. Deep in the heart of the forest, the dormant roots of the massive vine began to writhe and glow with a creepy green light. The pioneers felt the ground shudder, and one of them looked back. Terrified, complete panic erupted. The monstrous vine surged forward, its creepy tentacles erupting from the soil in a swift, brutal strike. Vicious green vines shot out from below, instantly ensnaring 2 pioneers. The rest of the team scattered in absolute terror as their trapped friends screamed for them to run, warning that they would die if they stayed. The red-haired leader quickly realized what caused this disaster. Lin Yi's massive breakthrough had stirred up too much energy, alerting the monster, dark green. Tentacles began wrapping around Lin Yi's protective barrier, which weakened after her breakthrough but still shielded her. The leader knew that in this state they had to move. If that vine fully wrapped around them, it's deadly. Aura would rot them instantly. Under the immense pressure, Lin Yi's shield began to shatter. Chaos erupted as the leader desperately tried to pull her terrified friend to safety. The girl screamed not to leave Lin Yi behind, but furious and desperate, the leader demanded to know what their next move was, and if she should waste her own precious spiritual energy to protect Lin Yi. She was dying just so her teammate could power up. Amidst the chaos, the red-haired leader tried to quiet one of her men, who argued they should abandon Lin Yi to save themselves. He coldly snapped, fate decided life and death. If they did not leave right away, everyone would die with her, he reminded her. They were only strangers who met by chance, accusing her of being far too emotional. But this heartless practical argument only made the red-haired leader even more furious. She shoved him back hard, screaming that she would never abandon a teammate, even if it meant ignoring the entire group. High above them on the cliff, Fang Yi watched the chaos. He knew his cousin, still a student, barely understood her danger. Meditating made her weak. This giant vine was unbelievably powerful, and though he was not sure he could beat it, he had to move immediately. As those tentacles slammed against her fading barrier, he clenched his fist, a blazing golden aura exploding around him. He had promised to protect his cousin, and that was a promise he was going to keep. Below, the red-haired leader charged forward, leaping straight through the tangled mess to reach her friend, delivering a powerful kick. She severed one of the branches, but her victory was short-lived. Dozens of vines burst from the ground, wrapping around her and preparing to squeeze. Nearby, her cousin's protective shield shattered. The monster lunged before the monstrous plant could claim another victim. Fang Yi made his move, diving from the cliffs. He swung his sword, unleashing two massive arcs of glowing golden energy. The rest of the team could only watch in terror, screaming her name as that shield finally broke. Suddenly, an immense blast of energy resembling a flaming phoenix descended from above, slamming into the massive vines with a deafening explosion. Fang Yi landed gracefully on the scorched ground, a pillar of golden fire erupting from the earth. He had pulled both his cousin and the brave leader from death's grip. Shrouded in a brilliant golden glow, Fang Yi's presence completely dominated the battlefield. The remaining members of the pioneer squad could only watch in stunned silence. This terrifying creature that had nearly slaughtered them moments ago actually recoiled from his overwhelming yang energy, its massive tentacles pulling back from the searing light. Hissing and melting, descending slowly, Fang Yi stood cloaked in pure brilliance. The surviving pioneers shielded their eyes, unable to believe their own senses. The cowardly pioneer who had wanted to abandon his cousin stood there, completely shocked, desperately wondering if this newcomer was also a pioneer. The leader, just as stunned, recognized this force as the absolute purest form of yang energy. Only this level of power could repel the life-sucking monster. Suddenly, the cowardly pioneer suffered a massive blow to his own ego. He always considered himself talented, reaching his 3-star phantom rank in record time, a feat very few across the country could ever hope to match. He knew even the highly praised Lin Yi could scarcely keep pace with him. Yet this stranger was on a different level, totally different. He stared down at his hands, then up at that glowing figure, feeling utterly useless. If pioneers like that existed, what were they? Honestly, the gap was just unreal. This stranger simply outclassed everyone. As Fang Yi remained bathed in golden light, his system suddenly sparked to life, detecting the extreme attributes of the deadly vine. It instantly began auto-scripting a brand new technique, flashing a glowing blue screen. This wood technique allowed him to instantly absorb nearby life force, healing his injuries rapidly as the vine's vast power surged into Fang Yi. He was completely enveloped in a warm, glowing wave of green energy. As long as life surrounded him, his source of healing power was limitless. He greedily devoured the very last remnant of the strange, glowing power. Suddenly, his system extracted the vine's ultimate core attribute, desolation. This terrifying new power could instantly generate an aura of pure decay. It wiped out all nearby life, yet Fang Yi stayed perfectly calm. He steadily absorbed the deadly force, his eyes flashing with a bright green light. He quietly stood in the center of the newly ruined, lifeless clearing. A faint green mist drifted around him as he realized the truth. Can you imagine, growing anywhere else, this lethal plant would drain life for miles around? Its relentless, decaying nature took the vitality of every living thing. Suddenly, the grateful voice of the red-haired leader broke his deep focus. She limped closer, her clothes torn and covered in bruises, offering her thanks. She admitted they would all be dead without him, asking how to repay him. Fang Yi simply dismissed her with a wave, saying it was unnecessary. He told her they would meet again, before turning his back and walking away. He did not consider himself a hero, knowing he only got this chance. Their clues led him here, meaning he was the one who truly benefited. He cared nothing for the petty drama among these newly awakened pioneers. With a sudden massive leap, he vanished, leaving the stunned squad behind. He knew that chaos reveals true nature, and weak teams never survive. There was no safety in this brutal new era, back in the clearing. The quiet girl and her rugged companion watched him vanish into the sky. Stunned, she asked what to do now, but he only gave a bitter reply. He asked if she regretted hesitating to save their fallen allies earlier. With the main threat gone, Leader Ye reached the third tier of power. The red-haired fighter knew that staying together was their only real option. Later on, Ye opened her eyes, which glowed with a deep blue light. Waking from her deep meditation, her worried companions quickly rushed to her side. The coward who wanted to leave her said their survival rested on her. However, another companion argued they should focus on their mysterious savior. Ye looked around in confusion, asking what had happened to them all. She pointed at the rest of their squad, lying unconscious on the ground. As she stood up, a sudden wave of intense, blistering heat hit her. It was a leftover trace of the powerful yang attribute burning inside a tree. Even from afar, the heat was suffocating. The rugged man stepped up to explain. He offered to explain everything, and later, she returned to her cousin's apartment. There, Ye sat in silence, still processing the crazy events of that day. She simply could not believe that such an overpowered monster actually existed. Her companion's wild description of the stranger kept echoing in her head. He had easily crushed those terrifying vines and shattered the giant beanstalk. Vanished into the sky, leaving behind her savior's incredibly overwhelming presence. Even after he left, the massive vine still remained completely peaceful. Proof of his power, opening the door, she was surprised to find Fang Yi. He noticed her pale face, but she quickly forced a bright, reassuring smile. She blamed simple exhaustion to ease his worry. Fang Yi bought it completely. Rest up, he suggested, offering to order them dinner. Yi agreed. Once inside her room, she collapsed. Making breakthroughs was mentally exhausting. This was worse than sleepless nights, but she felt relieved. No longer ordinary, she was now immune to dying from mere insomnia. This constant, brutal struggle against death was just the destiny of a pioneer. She thought of her cousin's quiet, peaceful life. That was impossible for her. A sudden vibration broke her thoughts, a new chat message. Jian Lan, the powerful, mysterious member who rarely posted, had sent a text. It read, "If anyone finds traces of that strong man, please inform me." This direct message instantly caught her attention. Yi replied immediately. She agreed, then eagerly asked the group if her savior was actually the same legend from the Black River lava dragon fight and why he helped. The chat room instantly went wild over this mysterious, high-level Yang master. Users detailed his devastating, sun-splitting strike and blinding power. Witnesses were literally blown out of a cave by an incandescent blast. They claimed no pioneer in Xia could ever match this monster. Stay away, they warned. Meanwhile, Fang Yi slipped out into the dark. Riding his bike, he knew his cousin would never suspect a thing. With her guard down, he could finally move without any suspicion. His goal tonight, find a compatible host for his new desolation power. Knowing this power aligned with plants, he kept searching. Under the bright moonlight, he pedaled through the night, planning his next move. This new attribute was incredibly powerful, but highly unstable. Rooted in decay and destruction, incorporating it carried major backlash risks. He worried its dark nature would clash with his purifying thunder. The solution, find a vessel similar to that strange vine beast. He suspected the original monster was just a normal plant. It evolved when spiritual energy returned, developing its deadly desolation aura. Confident in his plan, Fang Yi grinned with absolute satisfaction. He quietly followed the moonlit road, heading straight toward the dark forest park. Leaving his bike behind, he stepped into the glowing, shadowed woods. He walked slowly through a gorgeous field of vibrant, luminous wildflowers. Finding the right plant was critical to bridge his energy. Closing his eyes, he focused deeply, a brilliant green aura exploded right from Fang Yi, washing over the dense forest floor. The surrounding plants hummed, sending a wave of warm energy back. A solid response, sure, but it was not nearly strong enough. Pouring more power out, Fang Yi searched for an intense connection. Suddenly, he froze, his attention locked onto a specific spot. Right there, tucked in the tall grass, grew a single white flower. The glowing core swayed gently, as if calling to him. Could it really be her? He approaches carefully, extending his finger, as his fingertip makes contact. The flower petals closed. Fang Yi felt it drink his spiritual energy. It bloomed again. It looked completely full, as if after a feast. Smiling, he noticed its strong aura. This simple weed had potential. It acted just like a hungry puppy, eating his energy and begging for more. Fang Yi knew he had found his vessel, his perfect host. Out of the whole forest, this single flower responded best to his aura. He asked it directly if it was ready for its destiny. Without waiting, he unleashed a spinning vortex of bright green power. He focused it right onto the plant. A system screen flashed. It asked if he wanted to force the attribute into the sprout. His eyes glowed a vibrant green as he immediately agreed. A blinding light exploded from his hand. The flower began transforming. Its petals stretched out, growing into a much larger, deadlier shape. The mutation finished with a green flash. Fang Yi was stunned. The power burst was insane. The simple plant was gone. In its place stood a beautiful, lotus-like blossom with thick leaves. Everything radiated a fierce green glow. It was a masterpiece. This newly mutated flower did not waste any time. It unleashed a heavy wave of decay, driving its roots deep. The destruction was instant. The lush forest around him began to rot. Within seconds, great trees withered to ash, and the rich soil turned to dust. Fang Yi watched, amazed by the wicked strength of his new power. In moments, the dark energy had eaten a massive chunk of the woods. Then the light dimmed and the plant shrunk. Time to go. If he stayed, this energy wave would surely attract the association. He crouched down and ripped the glowing flower out of the ground. He knew the dangers of playing too close to the monitored center. The association feared mutated plants turning into major public threats. He had already noticed the extra security cameras and empty paths. Holding his prize, he saw something that honestly defied logic. The flower was still drinking spiritual energy straight out of the air. It survived and thrived without any connection to the soil. Its magic had not weakened one bit since being pulled up. This was incredible. It was just a common wildflower moments ago. This realization brought him to a massive conclusion about his power. Giving the plant his attribute had forced a terrifying evolution. It was on a path to become something greater than nature intended. But as he turned to leave, a loud siren echoed through the woods. Red warning lights flashed everywhere as a cold machine voice boomed. It warned of a massive energy spike. Fang Yi was spotted. The security sensors were active. There was no time to lose. Clutching the mutated flower, he bolted into the shadows. Meanwhile, at the association headquarters, those same alarms screamed. Panic erupted in the control room as technicians began to shout. They frantically demanded answers for the massive, sudden energy reading. The order went out. All personnel had to snap on their protective bracelets. They entered the park, completely sealing it off in heavy protective gear. The team stepped into the silent, dead forest. One scout checked his tracker. It showed a terrifyingly high value of 30. Startled, he froze. He muttered that this was insane, even the disaster at Xiing. University only reached 8 to 10, and the legendary Black River lava dragon topped 25. Another scout noted this park never crossed 10 before. While one gathered soil samples, another suddenly reported something bizarre. The weather and sunlight were completely normal, but every single plant was totally drained of life. The leader ordered them to move toward the center. They needed to find what caused this creepy decay, but then, as one scout stepped forward, an older researcher wearing glasses screamed. "Stop right there, don't get closer," he warned them not to touch anything. Recognizing the lingering energy as the desolation attribute, then asking if they knew about the demonic vine that had recently descended from heaven. The young scouts froze. One of them felt a sudden chill, realizing the expert meant the legendary celestial vine, an active A-tier threat. The senior nodded, projecting a glowing hologram, showing the vine and the tormented souls of its victims, explaining its grim origin. This absolute monster had already wiped out so many of their elite pioneers. It carried the desolation attribute, a parasite feeding on pure life. It siphoned energy from every living thing, claiming it all. The young scout who almost walked in clutched his chest, sweating in pure terror. He thanked the senior, trembling as he realized how close he came to dying. The expert explained that these desolation plants create a literal dead zone. Step inside and your entire life gets devoured. Talk about a total nightmare. He brought up records of a similar plant in Xia country, an ancient decaying tree, hidden in a city forbidden zone that instantly turned anything around it to dust. He stared at the dead clearing, deeply worried about these new mutations. They could not ignore this new era. Desolation was the single most destructive attribute any plant could ever awaken, besides the sky vine and the tree. A third horror has emerged. Suddenly, a heavy hand slapped onto his shoulder. The shocked team spun around to see Major Hanley standing there with his soldiers. The major had arrived with his unit, already fully briefed on the grim situation. He ordered the research team to put on advanced protective gear. His men had brought heavy suits, and they were heading straight into the dead zone. Led by Major Hanley, the newly geared team, alongside Suchening, stepped into the decay. Their scanners immediately picked up something extremely weird. The main source of the desolation energy was completely missing. Even crazier, the dark aura was fading, dropping down to 25. Within minutes, this made no sense compared to the highly mobile celestial vine. Major Hanley turned to Suchening, suggesting they investigate closer. She nodded, her expression serious, while they began. Two scouts enveloped in glowing blue spiritual energy started tracking the residual trail, letting the faint light guide them forward. Moving from the dead zone, they head back, right to the starting point. Both stop, they are completely frozen in absolute shock. The core desolation energy is gone, dug up and stolen. A researcher in a hazmat suit asks, "How is this possible?" Major Hanley knows one crucial thing about this situation. Whoever entered this dead zone is incredibly dangerous. But Su Chinying has a completely different theory. Their latest big data analysis points to one specific person. It matches this theft, plus another recent mutation. Right there on the screen, the photo of Fang Yi pops up with his name. Han Li promises to send over all the files on this guy. This guy is highly likely the pioneer she contacted before. The Major adjusts his hat, leaving the rest to her association. Alone among the dead flowers, Su Chinying stares at her screen. 2 hours later, Fang Yi is back home in his apartment. He smiles, then he places his desolation flower in a vase. He decides to name it Obedient Little White Flower, a perfect fit. With its new traits, it will grow on its own. Those incredible life-draining powers are going to be absolutely vital. He knows one thing: brute force alone will not cut it here. True victory in this world always requires secret weapons. Suddenly his phone buzzes loudly, breaking the quiet night. The caller ID instantly stops him. It is old Wang. They have not seen each other in 3 long years since he joined the army. A quick memory shows their close school days. With a curious smile, Fang Yi picks up the incoming call. Wang Lang cheerfully asks if he is back and invites him for a drink. To be honest, this random call feels a little strange to him. But Wang Lang insists he has a huge secret. But here is the catch: this friendly little reunion is actually a total trap. The moment he hangs up, we see Wang Lang. He reports to a scarred female officer with red hair. Su Chinying is sitting at the table too. Wang Lang requests that they keep his old friend safe, no matter what. The red-haired officer simply drums her fingers on the table. Coldly, she orders him to complete the mission. He needs to focus on the task without any unnecessary side actions. She coldly adds that if Fang Yi is innocent, this is his punishment. Over at a bar, Fang Yi and Wang Lang clink their cold beer mugs. They sit drinking, catching up after 3 long years. Fang Yi notices his old friend looks much more mature. Wang Lang excitedly shares his rough stories from serving in the army. Fang Yi casually replies that he is doing fine over in college. But in his mind, he remembers his past life. His soldier friend had probably died in a forgotten battle, leaving him to wonder. With this second chance, he could rewrite his friend's tragic fate. Wang Lang suddenly shifted the topic, his tone turning incredibly serious as he asked Fang Yi about strange sightings like zombies or movie monsters. Fang Yi went on alert. It was obvious the army knew about spiritual energy, but this felt like a targeted test. Playing completely dumb, Fang Yi casually asked him what he meant. Wang Lang sighed. This was not an interrogation, it was a warning. Wealth, status, everything they valued, totally useless. The world order was collapsing. Fang Yi listened, keeping his face blank. Staring deeply into his glass, he recalled the military's incredibly strict silence regarding the entire spiritual awakening. His suspicions were confirmed. They knew about him. They had already identified his power, sending his own childhood friend to test his loyalties. Seeing his silence, Wang Lang quickly tried to ease his mind. He promised that if Fang Yi simply kept his mouth completely shut, he would stay safe. But Fang Yi saw right through the friendly facade. Wang Lang was risking a court-martial just to deliver this warning. Then their talk shattered, a phone buzzed. Wang Lang answered immediately. A harsh, commanding voice barked an urgent order. He was ordered back to the designated military location immediately, with 0 delay. Within 10 minutes, Wang Lang stood at strict attention, ready to deploy. Fang Yi. Fang Yi watched him rise, apologizing quickly. An urgent mission prevented him from walking his friend home tonight. But right as his friend turned to leave the room, Fang Yi completely dropped his act. Is this mission about spiritual energy? Let me come with you. Wang Lang froze, spinning back in pure shock. Fang Yi stepped forward, grabbing his friend's collar and demanding to be taken straight to his high-ranking superiors. He made it clear he knew the real purpose of this reunion. He trusted Wang Lang, but he needed to see what was happening. He needed to see what the military was truly up against during this massive global shift. The secret association already fought monsters. He had to see the army's role. Wang Lang finally relented, and without another word, the two headed off together into the night. They arrived at a massive, heavily fortified military base hidden in a mountain. This was spiritual forbidden zone number 19. Fang Yi was instantly awed by the density of the raw energy, surpassing any standard disaster zone. An armed squad of elite soldiers met them at the gate, taking charge of them. They ordered Wang Lang to report back. After a quick scan, they let Fang Yi pass, escorting him down a bright hallway. Deep inside, they led him to a colossal underground training arena. Soldiers fought desperately, channeling glowing blue energy to contain a beast. It was a pitch-black, spiked monstrosity with a single, glowing red eye. The creature roared, firing a devastating crimson beam that ripped through soldiers, triggering screams of absolute agony and terror. High on a platform, a stern, red-haired officer watched the brutal struggle with cold eyes. Fang Yi immediately sensed the monster's powerful dual elemental nature. The officer nodded, confirming it was a perfect fusion of dark and fire. An exceptionally fierce and cruel beast that had already slaughtered dozens. Several armed soldiers stand guard, led by Jai Fang, a 3-star officer. She spots Wang Lang. Shouting his name, he snaps to attention. Furious, she demands why he brought an unauthorized outsider into this forbidden sector. No excuse, she cuts him off, but her tense expression suddenly softens. Forget it, she says. The situation is too critical right now. They need him in line. Then she glances at Fang Yi, unimpressed. Barely any spiritual energy. For one split second, she wonders. Could he be the pioneer? No way, she shakes the thought off. Refocusing on the battle, she issues a cold, stern warning to him. As Wang Lang's friend, she will keep it brief, but hear this. His life is his own responsibility here. Keep this whole thing secret. Fang Yi nods, he understands. Jai Fang steps forward, taking command. She hoists an energy cannon, calling 2 vanguard soldiers forward. Active blue energy wraps their bodies. They charge the beast. Jai Fang aims low. She unleashes a massive, blinding beam of raw power. Direct hit, a massive, roaring explosion rips through the field. But the creature is not dead. It lets out a furious, deafening roar. Its dark silhouette pulses with terrifying red light, its fangs bare. Its jaws stretch wide. That strike only served to anger it. Accelerating its mutation, the enraged beast swipes down with a massive claw. A soldier screams. His partner blocks the blow but gets thrown back. Jai Fang takes charge immediately, commanding her team to keep their safe distance. Do not be careless. We have to eliminate it right now. Kill it before it evolves. Watching them, Fang Yi feels impressed. A highly trained team, united by trust, discipline, and tight coordination. He recognizes the sheer strength that comes from their perfect unity. But that thought is cut short. The beast's power spikes dangerously. It is growing too fast. Run, he yells, panic in his voice. There is absolutely no matching this beast, but will they listen? The warning is lost. The monster fires a massive purple blast. Soldiers fly backward. Standing firm, Jai Fang orders an alert raise. They must immediately upgrade the mutation level of this zone. Malicious red eyes gleam. A terrified soldier screams as it finishes mutating. Merging with the darkness, its single burning eye locks onto its target. It aims at Wang Lang. Paralyzed with fear, he can only stare. Horror strikes Jai Fang and Fang Yi. He is in mortal danger. The mutated beast prepares to strike, surging forward in a shockwave. A violent blast of energy throws a defending soldier backward. Jai Fang yells. The mutated hound is now a B-level threat. The battle plan must change. The fallen soldier coughs up blood. Thick blood spills from his mouth. Fang Yi rushes over, holding him up. The wounded soldier wheezes. He was trying to charge the collar. But the beast's sudden evolution made the containment collar explode. Even coughing up thick, dark fluids, the brave soldier tries to speak. Don't worry about us, he gasps. Fang Yi's expression turns dark. A grin spreads, realizing normal weapons are useless. Jiang drops her heavy energy cannon to the ground. She stands before the remaining soldiers, her determination unwavering as she barks out a desperate final order. No matter the cost, this B-level mutant must never escape the restricted zone. But just as she and her squad prepare for their last stand, Fang Yi steps forward. Positioning himself directly in front of her, blocking her path, Jiang demands to know what he is doing, but he completely ignores her. His hands glow with intense blue light. Pure arcs of lightning crackle around his body, a clear sign that battle has begun. Swathed in blue lightning, Fang Yi mocks the creature, his eyes gleaming with power as he questions its resilience. Then he charges straight at the mutant beast. His arm transforms into a brilliant blue lightning bolt aimed directly at its head. The impact is absolutely colossal. A massive explosion of divine thunder completely overwhelms the monster. The raw force of the strike creates a powerful shockwave that sends nearby soldiers flying backward. Stunned soldiers can hardly believe their eyes. That was a B-level monster that even Jiang could not defeat alone. Wang Liang, equally shocked, turns to Jiang, asking if their old friend is truly who they imagined. With a heavy look, she confirms there is absolutely no mistake. She confirms without a doubt he is the pioneer known as the Tyrant. Fang Yi stands calm before the creature, which still burns with residual flames, but is clearly scorched by the lightning. Seeing that it is not completely down, he decides he needs to finish the job. He tells Jiang and Wang Liang to fall back. Jiang watches, wondering how her squad needed a complex formation for a B-level threat, while Fang Yi prepares to handle everything completely alone. She wonders what kind of monstrous power he possesses. She has to admit, she has never seen such extreme mastery of lightning. He was already an elite pioneer. She can barely fathom his potential. Honestly, this guy is unreal. With the spiritual rebirth, she watches Fang Yi raise his hand, gathering more electrical energy. Absolute shock spreads across her face. She sees a massive lightning storm forming in the heavens above Fang Yi. Taking one final step, he unleashes the full destructive force of his attribute. A massive pillar of blinding blue lightning erupts directly from the ground beneath the monster. Display that truly lives up to his code name, the Tyrant. His eyes still crackle with residual electricity, showing calm determination as the blinding light slowly fades. The surviving soldiers can only watch in absolute shock. One of them whispers that the scene makes him tremble. If the beast's corrosive darkness was tough, this purely destructive thunder is on another level entirely. As the dust slowly settles, Fang Yi casually gives his friend a thumbs up. Threat eliminated. Wang Liang rushes over to him, shouting in relief that Fang Yi had scared him half to death. He playfully punches his friend's shoulder, laughing that he never imagined his old buddy was so powerful. The mood shifts as Wang Liang apologizes, admitting he suspected Fang Yi was a pioneer but had to follow orders. Fang Yi takes it in stride. Why so formal after 3 years? He understands their reunion was cut short. Jiang approaches. Jiang formally thanks Fang Yi for his help, offering her hand with a polite smile. Fang Yi accepts the gesture, shaking her hand and saying it was no problem. No big deal, he only fought to save his friend. Jiang formally introduces herself as the guardian of Forbidden Area 019, explaining that since he saved the base, they need an official report and his contact information. Fang Yi agrees without hesitation, while his old friend Wang Liang stands watching in absolute silence, shocked by the strict commander's sudden politeness. Toward her friend, with the formalities finished, Jiang makes a direct, serious proposal. His strength is off the charts, surpassing most special army pioneers. She officially invites him to enlist. Still, she admits a mere base guardian's offer might not convince him. Like herself wouldn't work. Secretly, she struggles to comprehend. Honestly, this is just wild. She realizes he is a 3-star Ghost acts cultivator just like her, yet his true capabilities go far beyond the known limits of that level, making him an absolute monster in battle. Funi calmly asks Jiang if she really lacks the authority to recruit him. She confirms this without denial, explaining that the direct command to recruit him actually comes straight from the very top leadership. They will undoubtedly come to ask him in person very soon. Funi chuckles softly, saying there is absolutely no need for such formality. He respects them all, acknowledging that not everyone has the courage to sacrifice their own lives for strangers, he admits. He had never watched soldiers in live combat, and the sight deeply moved him. Deeply touched by his sincerity, Jiang quietly thanks him before Funi proposes an alternative. If they ever face trouble in the future, they can call him for help just like they protect ordinary citizens, but there is a catch. He has one rule: they must never interfere with his personal cultivation or restrict his freedom. Jiang is completely surprised. With the deal made, Funi notices how late it is and bids them farewell. Jiang nods in agreement, still busy with Wang Liang handling the monsters. Massive corpse promising to arrange its transport, walking away from the brave soldiers. Funi finally understands the real purpose of this army. In this dangerous era, they train inside spiritual zones to build a shield separating the normal human world from the terrifying outer worlds. After Funi leaves, Jiang remarks to Wang Liang that their old friend is way beyond impressive. She is fully aware that what they just witnessed was actually a tiny fraction of his true combat strength. Growing this strong so quickly shows a level of perception that is completely unreal, making him a rare mix of luck, courage, and raw skill. He has the makings of greatness. Seeing her respect, Wang Liang excitedly suggests that since she is not the right person to recruit him, he should do it as his childhood friend. Jiang immediately brings him back to reality with a sharp smack to his head, ordering him to stop babbling and help clean up. He grumbles, getting dragged off to work. Later that night, back at his apartment, Fang Yi meditates on the rooftop. A bright golden aura surrounds him as he reflects on his military encounter. Their visit definitely exposed his identity, but he only showed off his thunder element. His other powers remain hidden. Their respectful attitude proves this. This is actually a good thing, that incredibly rare thunder power of his. It is the ultimate weapon against the dark beasts the military fights. That makes him an invaluable asset. Feng Yi knows a recruitment offer is coming. They will not threaten him. Instead, he will get better training resources. Access to top-tier info is now within reach too. Plus, he now clearly understands the country's two main pioneer factions. Jiang's military division acts as hidden protectors. Meanwhile, the Cultivation Association, led by elite agents like Su Qing, handles city-level threats to keep people safe. Feng Yi appreciates this smart dual-layered plan of using forbidden zones. They trap the worst threats there while slowly prepping the public for what is coming. This cautious strategy buys precious time. To stop widespread panic, back on the roof his core glows. He has absorbed massive energy from that zone, but did not expect an instant level up, yet his body suddenly tells a different story. Golden currents erupt through his veins, fracturing the air around his face. That spiritual zone packed him with too much raw power to contain. There is no stopping it now. He is crossing the threshold. Meanwhile, down on the streets, his cousin Lin Yi is walking home. Carrying heavy grocery bags, she wonders if Feng Yi is already back. She wants him to try her cooking, but her thoughts instantly shatter. Looking up, she spots a colossal pillar of golden light tearing the sky. It is blasting straight up from their apartment building. Her jaw drops. A massive, blazing divine axe reflects right in her terrified eyes. She assumes it is a phantom axe breakthrough. She is dead wrong. Lin Yi freezes on the street. That colossal, burning divine axe in the sky radiates a terrifying pressure way beyond any normal breakthrough. She knows what a phantom axe level feels like, but this is far worse. This power is literally bending the fabric of reality itself. A massive golden hand takes shape in the clouds. The truth hits her. This is the legendary spiritual creation realm, an impossible level. Knowing such a monstrous pioneer is right here fills her with dread. Naturally, this insane energy surge triggers alarms miles away in command. Technicians scramble as the system flags an anomaly index of 99. A catastrophic level event in the southeast. An officer in Su Qing react in absolute panic. The officer orders all units to move out immediately. Su Qing wonders how something this insanely powerful went completely unnoticed. We are talking about energy that could wipe this entire city out. Military leaders gather around a holographic map, arguing over their options. Is this a new spiritual creation pioneer or an impending apocalypse? One grim officer suggests it might just be both. Things are escalating fast. A panicked senior officer called headquarters, urgently demanding advanced gear. He begged for equipment, no weapons of mass destruction though. A subordinate burst inside, gasping out that the alert was canceled. It was not a monster, just a pioneer undergoing a breakthrough. Fang Yi sighed in relief. The breakthrough was finally complete. He had officially reached the one-star spiritual creation realm. His body felt lighter, yet his raw physical power seemed unchanged. This quiet moment shattered when a message popped up from Wang Laying. A fresh, strange anomaly was detected at Kinning University. Military sources confirmed it was a dangerous pollution zone, appearing there a second time. Feng Yi texted back, noting he already knew about the heat. His friend confirmed it. The same anomaly was back, so keep quiet. Feng Yi joked about reporting him, but Wang Laying turned serious. He warned him to stay safe, genuinely worrying for Feng Yi. Setting his phone down, the young pioneer carefully considered his strategy. He had to stay cautious, keep things quiet with the association. This meant hiding his powerful Yang Flame attribute from everyone. He kept the Crimson Flame blade technique hidden as a secret. Quickly replying, Feng Yi promised his friend that he would be safe. Right at that moment, Lin Yi stepped back into the apartment. Spotting her cousin on the sofa, she asked if he had eaten. She offered him a bag of takeout she brought along. Barely looking up, Feng Yi murmured to leave it on the table. Staring at him, Lin Yi felt rather frustrated and quite worried. She sighed, viewing her kind cousin as incredibly lazy to a fault. He skipped college just to stare at his phone all day. Talk about a massive misunderstanding. She has no idea what he can do. While she struggles secretly, she thinks he is just a lazy slacker. Exhausted, she headed to her bedroom and collapsed on the bed. Rumors of a powerhouse from the spiritual creation realm would spread. Driven by duty, she resolved to protect her oblivious cousin. When trouble arrived, she would stand up and shield him. Meanwhile, Feng Yi was not just staring aimlessly at his screen. He was analyzing the shocking report sent over by Wang Laying. First came the extreme heat, and now actual flames erupted. He wondered if another raw Yang attribute was at play. The footage showed the fire spreading with terrifyingly rapid speed. Witness comments online wondered if special military units were coming. The report stated that all nearby trees had burned to ash. That entire university field was completely isolated from the public. Feng Yi noticed the video cut off abruptly, indicating high danger. This looked far more serious than the previous university incident. He had to know what made this Yang attribute so different. Investigating the cordon zone personally was his only option. To get inside, he had to contact his military acquaintance, Jiang. Reporters swarmed like locusts right in front of the sealed gates of Qing University. Gates are blocked by a line of soldiers as reporters shout for confirmation. They demand to know about the rumored unquenchable fire and why it was covered up. As the press pushes for answers, Jiang and Feng Yi arrive. The curious crowd immediately stops to stare at the two powerful figures. Without a single question, the guards open the gates for them. Left outside, the reporters stare in absolute confusion at their easy entry. Once inside the restricted zone, they look over the ruins. Fang Yi stares at the burned campus, noting the sheer destruction. He asks Jiang if this is indeed the legendary celestial fire. Jiang nods, starting to explain just how terrifying this flame is. It strikes without warning, refuses to burn out, and consumes everything. It only stops when everything is ashes, making the name quite fitting. Wrapping up the inspection, she tells Fang Yi to wait near the ruins. While she visits the director, he assures her he will be fine alone. Fang Yi walks along the yellow tape, cordoning off the black ashes. He kneels down, touching the burnt soil to analyze the leftover energy. But the ground is cold, completely empty of any residual celestial fire. What a disappointment, no celestial fire attribute to harvest here. His plan was clearly too simple, but a familiar voice suddenly interrupts him. He looks up and spots his ex-girlfriend, Shu Qinglei, approaching. She stands on the steps with a friend, looking utterly surprised to see him. She asks what he is doing here, while her snobby friend glares. The girl in glasses asks if he is that poor technical college ex-boyfriend. Shu Qinglei quietly nods, confirming his identity to her friend. With a smug laugh, the friend pats his shoulder in a mocking way. She tells Fang Yi to give up because their lives are totally different now. He should just move on. Fang Yi just stares back, genuinely confused. The absolute absurdity of her assumption makes him want to laugh out loud. Nearby, other students watch the drama unfold and start whispering. They wonder who this guy is, assuming he is just another rejected admirer. Since he does not look like a student, they complain about campus security. She steps forward to aggressively get in his face. She snaps that Shu Qinglei is a star and he needs to back off. Plenty of elite guys are chasing her, and he is not even close. She orders him to leave immediately, claiming he does not belong here. If he does not explain how he snuck in, she will call security. Meanwhile, Shu Qinglei watches the whole exchange with a complicated look. She remembers him claiming he would never regret their breakup. Now she assumes his cold indifference is just an act to save face. The tension breaks when Jiang suddenly returns, asking if these are his friends. Shu Qinglei is stunned by the sudden arrival of this gorgeous red-haired woman. Fang Yi coldly replies that they are merely high school acquaintances. Jiang simply shrugs, repeating that they are just minor acquaintances. She slips her sunglasses on, looking incredibly stylish and intimidating. Shu Qinglei and her friend are left completely speechless by her presence. Everyone grew visibly shaken under her intense aura, wondering who she really was. Jiang turned to Fang Yi with a quick update, explaining how she knew him. She explained that after speaking with the director, this whole Skyfair matter looked way more complicated. The situation was far worse than expected. Jiang added that the director was already on his way, prepared to lead them straight to the source of the fire, as a special military consultant. Fang Yi was absolutely needed there. He immediately agreed to go. Right then, a squad of stern-faced security officers in dark suits arrived. They ordered everyone to back off, declaring that the area remained strictly cordoned off. Shu Qinglei and her fellow students stared in absolute shock as they recognized the university director, rarely seen on campus, his sudden personal presence to meet Fang Yi and the mysterious red-haired woman left them awestruck. Shu Qinglei's friend, however, totally misread the situation, smiling and thinking the director had arrived to kick out the two intruders, but Shu Qinglei stayed quiet, feeling incredibly uneasy. To their absolute shock, the director did not treat the pair like trespassers. Instead, the elderly man walked straight toward Fang Yi, greeting him with a warm and deeply respectful handshake. As a consultant personally appointed by Yan, the director immediately showed immense respect, voicing his deep concern over the bizarre anomalies, while expressing massive relief at their arrival. Presence, then the director actually bowed slightly, talk about respect. Formally handing Fang Yi full authority over this entire crisis. From the sidelines, Xu Qingli could only watch, utterly dumbfounded. As every lingering assumption about her ex-boyfriend shattered completely, afterward the security detail tightened their perimeter, forming a solid human wall and pushing the bewildered crowd away, swept back by the surging students. Xu Qingli struggled to process that this powerful director was actually bowing to a young man she thought she knew. Around her, the students' opinions instantly flipped from mocking him as a failed suitor to fearing him as an elite figure. Realizing his high status, they whispered that their positions had totally reversed. Now, even if Xu Qingli begged, she probably wouldn't get a single glance. That reality cut deep when she realized Fang Yi hadn't spared her a single glance. Leaving the proud campus, beauty utterly ignored, over at Qingchang University's northern district, the director escorted Fang Yi and Jiang to the anomaly site. He detailed the bizarre events, starting with the Golden Sun incident, which he had honestly hoped would be the end of their troubles. He explained that just a few nights ago, a sudden, raging fire broke out on the fields. Since it happened late, they managed to seal off the zone quickly. The director continued, his expression darkening. Soon after that first blaze, more fires ignited across 2 other fields. He had even witnessed a strange crimson flame fall from the heavens and hover midair, an undeniable, terrifying supernatural anomaly. While the other blazes were put out, this one refused to die. As they approached the final spot, Fang Yi caught the scent of a heavy, suffocating burn. They stepped onto a basketball court, where a single hoop burned like an eternal pyre. The director confirmed this was ground zero, the only fire they couldn't put out. No matter what they tried, it kept burning. Inspecting the anomaly, Jiang glanced down at her wrist device, which flashed a reading of 11. She explained to Fang Yi that this spiritual anomaly detector flagged any reading. Levels above 10 are disastrous for civilians, requiring immediate isolation. Suddenly, the device flashed and beeped as the level spiked to 60. Su Qingying gasped. Deeply alarmed by the sudden spike, she warned the director that if the energy kept rising, it would destroy not only the university campus, but also the entire city. They needed to deploy an elite team to contain this threat, but before they could act, Fang Yi took the initiative. Without a moment of hesitation, he leaped over the wire fence, ignoring their warnings, and charged straight into the raging fire. Soon, he was swallowed by the intense flames while Su Qingying and the director watched. Horrified, then the tracker in Su Qingying's hand spiked to 110. She screamed. This is an S-level anomaly. The panicked director frantically asked what they should do now. With Fang Yi inside, Su Qingying stared into the flames, questioning his sheer recklessness, whispering that not even the elite pioneers from a forbidden zone would ever dare step in alone. Inside the inferno, Fang Yi stood completely unharmed, his silhouette incredibly calm. Amidst the furious flames, he knew that just as his powerful Yang attribute had guarded him against divine thunder, it would also protect him from this celestial fire. Quickly, though, he realized there was a major problem. His protective aura kept him safe, but it also blocked him from touching the source flame and activating his system's ability to unlock a new technique. Fang Yi knew he had to reach the core. The fire coiled around a central hoop like a wild flaming dragon. Without hesitation, he prepared to face the beast head-on. The fire dragon charged with a fierce roar. In a risky move, Fang Yi deactivated his Golden Sun shield, leaving his body completely vulnerable. The intense celestial fire immediately engulfed him in a violent storm of energy. He gritted his teeth against the absolute searing agony as flames scorched his skin. He forced his hand forward, determined to touch the anomaly's core. His gamble paid off. The moment he touched the origin, the system flared to life, confirming the detection of celestial fire attribute. Despite the searing pain, a determined smile spread across his face. He was in awe of this celestial fire, whose sheer power surpassed even his new desolation attribute, but Fang Yi was fiercely resolved to absorb every single drop of this power at any cost. The system calculated and compiled the data. A new notification window popped up to announce his reward. He had acquired the 9 dragons. Celestial fire sealing art. This was a legendary technique designed to eliminate all evil and seal away ancient demons. As he mastered this new ability, the wild flames became natural extensions of his will, coiling around his arm like a tame dragon. The system chimed, confirming the technique was compiled and unlocked, and fully ready for immediate use. Focusing his intent, Fang Yi began the extraction of the celestial fire attribute, directly absorbing its pure essence. His eyes glowed with brilliant crimson light as glowing seals emerged across his face. With his hands quickly forming the seals, Fang Yi prepared to unleash his brand new ultimate ability, the 9 dragons celestial fire sealing art. Instantly, crimson chains burst from his back, tearing through the flames. Outside the fence, Su Qingying and the director watched, utterly amazed. Su Qingying instantly recognized the legendary sealing aura. She recalled seeing a high-ranking military pioneer seal Forbidden Land. Though their actual methods differed, the overwhelming aura was unmistakable. With a sharp command, Fang Yi recalled the chains. He pulled with immense force, compressing the wild celestial fire into a glowing orb. This pure, sealed energy hovered in the air. Fang Yi firmly held the chained sphere. As the process finished, the fire orb gently descended into the basketball hoop. Landing safely, Fang Yi explained the situation to the director. He had temporarily sealed the celestial fire and requested that the court remain closed, allowing no repairs or visitors to prevent the fire from spreading. The director quickly agreed, promising the location would remain completely isolated, which was no problem given the university's numerous courts. Fang, however, watched Fang Yi with a sharp, silent gaze. The director, deeply impressed, playfully offered his assistance, but Fang interrupted, asking to speak with Fang Yi alone. The director bid them a satisfied farewell, leaving the two alone. Fang, serious and direct, turned to Fang Yi, noting he had hidden his true depth well. Fang Yi tried to deflect, casually commenting on the celestial fire's difficulty, but she saw through his act, fixing him with a penetrating gaze. She told him to stop pretending, making it clear she wasn't talking about the fire, but about his extraordinary talent and power. Fang softened her tone, admitting that secrets were normal for pioneers, especially someone so powerful. Fang Yi listened in calm silence. Then, with an even more serious tone, she explained that although she had no right to demand anything, she hoped he would listen. Attentively, she described a grim future of chaos where Nation Z would desperately need top-tier talents like him. She put Fang Yi's potential into perspective. Once spiritual energy fully awakened, his power would be as vital as a modern nuclear weapon. Therefore, she warned that all major powers, from restricted military zones to the Spiritual Energy Association, would rush to recruit him. She advised him to prepare for personal invitations from high-ranking officials with generously tempting offers. She admitted her reasons. If he joined her military unit, he would be a reinforcement and a powerful ally. She advised him to consider his options now so he wouldn't be caught off guard. Fang Yi hesitated, then asked a curious question. He wanted to know why she and Wang Lang seemed so hesitant to recruit him to their own forbidden zone, acting as if they weren't worthy. Fang explained that the reason was another legendary military region. She believed such a powerful group would attract him more. Fang Yi suggested they end the conversation and head to the cafeteria where the director had invited them. As they walked, Fang Yi concluded that even the nation's most powerful forces faced major problems. His mind was racing. Fang's words revealed the emergence of frightening anomalies with power far beyond the pioneers. Fang Yi realized that these combatants likely included spiritual recultivators like himself, and perhaps even stronger ones. A new sense of urgency washed over him. The full awakening of spiritual energy was rapidly approaching, and his preparation was still insufficient. His thoughts then turned to the immediate task: how best to use the newly acquired heavenly fire. He analyzed its nature. An erratic, wild, and utterly consuming flame, he understood it would be the perfect weapon against anomalies capable of reproducing or regenerating indefinitely. But then, a brilliant idea sparks in Funi's mind. It matches his flame blade perfectly. He imagines fusing them to massively upgrade his combat style. To test his theory, Funi heads straight to his training spot. But when he gets there, a danger sign blocks the path. "Stay out," that is what it says. He wonders who put it up. There are no monsters around, and the army would not act this fast. It has to be the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association behind this. They know his habits and basically set up a private training ground. This is clearly their way of trying to win his favor. Smiling, he accepts the gift. Suddenly, his keen senses alert him. An unwanted presence has managed to slip onto the mountain. Funi feels a familiar vibe, just like that factory monster. Only this one is much weaker, hiding quietly among the dense trees. A monkey-like beast with glowing red eyes is watching him. It is surprisingly smart. It hesitates, sizing him up. Since his blade is already humming, Funi decides to act. This is the absolute perfect moment for him to display his power. Suddenly, a system window pops up, asking to infuse the heavenly fire into his Tang sword, describing it as a powerful evil-destroying force. With absolute confidence in his eyes, Funi immediately agrees to it. In an instant, his sword erupts into a massive pillar of flames. Grinning, he gets ready to unleash this insane new fiery power. Honestly, that mutant monkey has no idea what is coming for him. Funi wastes no time, launching a massive firestorm at the beast. Caught completely off guard, the creature's red eyes widen with absolute terror. It screams in agony as the raging storm of fire swallows it whole. Standing right in the middle of it all, Funi checks his upgrade. The energy of his attack has easily tripled, but his blade stays cool. Suddenly, his sharp senses alert him that the beast survived and is escaping. There is no way he is letting it go. The chase is on. Meanwhile, deeper in the forest, a completely different scene is unfolding. A young woman with curly red hair is busy live streaming to her followers. She is bragging to her audience about how insanely lucky she always is. Her viewers do not buy it for a single second, though. In fact, someone challenges her to prove her luck by filming the legendary heavenly fire. But her smug face quickly turns to horror as reality hits. The exact same escaped monster leaps out of the bushes at her. It attacks with savage force, giving her zero time to react. The impact sends her phone flying, and the screen shatters as it hits. Even with a shattered screen, the stream is still running live. Viewers see the monster pin her, but they assume it is all fake. They think it is a stunt, but she is fighting for survival. She shrieks in terror, but the beast paws over her mouth to silence her. It opens its massive fanged jaw, getting ready to tear her apart. Before the beast could strike, an enormous dragon-shaped blast of fire erupted out of nowhere. It slammed the beast away, leaving the shocked streamer staring up in disbelief. She was saved just in time, while her clueless audience missed the real danger. Instead, they only cared about the fire dragon's insane special effects. This dramatic twist sent the livestream viewer count skyrocketing past 13,000 people. Still terrified, the young woman glanced over her shoulder, calling out to see who was there. Grabbing her phone, she stood up, pointing her camera directly toward the source of that attack. Facing the blazing fire, she screamed to her viewers that she had successfully recorded every single second. Standing right inside the flames, her camera captured Fang Yi's figure completely untouched by the blazing fire. Terrified and utterly awestruck, she realized she was saved by a true immortal, the video of Ma's rescue. Thanks to Fang Yi's intervention, exploded online, becoming the hottest topic. Online, hitting over 13.5 million views, as dramatic headlines called him a mysterious heavenly fireman, king of flames, and a descended immortal who came to save the world. Meanwhile, in an office, Shu Qingli's friend excitedly called her over to watch the clip, eagerly pointing out that it absolutely proved the existence of supreme cultivators and that crazy heavenly fire incident. Shu Qingli, however, just scoffed with total disdain, claiming it was nothing but cheap acting and special effects. But looking closer at the screen, her expression froze in absolute shock. Talk about instant karma, her friend, not noticing her shock, kept gushing about how handsome the mysterious hero was, until she finally noticed Shu Qingli's dead silence. Inside, Shu Qingli was completely torn. She kept desperately telling herself the footage was fake and that the figure only looked like Fang Yi. If it really were him, she argued, he would have been turned to ashes by those terrifying flames, but denial soon turned to cold fear. What if it really was him? Would he use this newfound power to get revenge for their messy breakup? Still, she stubbornly swore she would never bow to him no matter what. Elsewhere, Lin Yi's red-haired pioneer leader showed her the viral video, asking if this was the very same guy who had rescued her from that monstrous vine. Lin Yi nodded, realizing they had stumbled upon a legendary master from the spiritual creation realm, living right nearby. Lin Yi could not help but wonder if her quiet cousin and this hero were actually the same person. Meanwhile, Yung Xia and another pioneer from the lava cave watched the video too. The man immediately recognized Fang Yi's stance, noticing his massive growth. His companion pointed out the identical sword technique, realizing how lucky they were to have such a powerhouse close by. Soon, news of Fang Yi's public display of power reached the absolute top brass of the country's two largest factions. Over at the association's headquarters, the city's crisis was rapidly worsening, with pioneers struggling to cope. Shu Qingli reported directly to officials. She guaranteed that the military was already reaching out to Fang Yi, and that he would definitely back them up. Meanwhile, at military headquarters, Jiang and Major Han Li joined the high-level meeting, blown away by his rapid growth. They literally called Fang Yi a monster for breaking into the spiritual creation realm so quickly. They debated his insane elemental attributes, concluding he must have. The higher-ups finally realized that trying to intimidate him was a massive mistake. Now recruitment was their only option. Major Han Li wondered if the high command would make a personal move. Jiang nodded, but noted the high brass's hesitation. They hated lowering themselves, especially since all previous elites came from their own ranks. Stepping up, Major Han Li quickly laid out a brand new strategy. They needed to dig into what Fang Yi lacked in weapons and gear. Offering prime training grounds would show goodwill, but then came the critical command. That viral broadcast and all surrounding rumors had to be completely locked down. The entire spiritual energy of nation now centered on Fang Yi. Suching and Jiang weighed the future. She worried about the crushing pressure. He only smiled back, confident. Both leaders waited to see what Fang Yi would do. Meanwhile, inside a quiet hospital room, a heart monitor beeped in steady rhythms. A mysterious purple-haired woman sat silently beside a sleeping patient. Calling him master, she whispered that Nation C had finally found new hope. With Fang Yi's rise, the odds of her master waking up had skyrocketed. A day later, back in his apartment, Fang Yi finished up his breakfast. He quietly reflected on the sheer chaos of this past month. That back mountain battle went viral because some reckless streamer sneaked in. But as he ate, he noticed the footage had completely vanished online. The channel was banned too, likely the army's doing. Or maybe the association's. But then, a sudden realization hit. His cousin Li never came home last night, nor did she text. That was highly unusual, even for her missions. A cold dread crept in. He dialed her number, but it went straight to voicemail. Instinct screaming danger, he grabbed his gear to go look for her. Meanwhile, deep in a foggy forest, Li Yi and her team leader were completely lost. Her red-haired leader asked for a time estimate. Li Yi guessed 10 hours. But tracking time meant nothing now. They were exhausted and bleeding. The wounded leader apologized, blaming herself for dragging Li Yi into this. She only meant to investigate a minor anomaly. Now look at them. Clutching her bleeding side, her voice faltered, but Li Yi cut her off. No apologies, she blamed her own weakness instead and demanded they focus. They had to stay alert and conserve whatever spiritual energy was left. Her mind drifted to a powerful master she once saw, wishing for that strength. Just a fraction of it could save them, but their time ran out. A massive, spiny shadow beast with glowing red eyes burst from the fog. It lunged straight at them, razor-sharp claws aiming for the leader. Moving like lightning, Li Yi shoved her companion aside with a warning shout. Li Yi unleashed her spiritual energy, forming a bright blade of light. She sliced the beast's head off, but more danger immediately closed in. More shadow figures crawled from the mist, and trust me, they weren't friendly. These monsters were the reanimated corpses of previous victims. She hacked one down, watching it melt into a black puddle. The real monster was just playing with them, puppet mastering these dead bodies. She adds that their attacks did nothing against the thick fog, their spiritual energy. Their energy was draining fast. With the true enemy still hiding, they realized they were trapped inside the monster's twisted illusion, a swirling gray void where the beast was completely invincible. It was a waiting game to wear them down. A single bead of sweat rolled down the leader's face as she realized just how bad things were. Suddenly, the sky above them tore wide open, revealing a single gigantic, blood-red eye staring down at them. Terrified, the leader screamed out Lin Yi's name. That eye, a pulsating mass of flesh, bubbled and split into dozens of slimy, staring eyeballs. Desperate, the red-haired leader attacked, slashing several of the spheres apart. But Lin Yi felt the creature's dark energy shift, warning the leader to stay alert. The monster was finally losing all its patience.